Welcome to Sally Fox audiobook, Naruto _ The New Beginning. Chapter 334 to 354, 335. In spring, you plant 949 words.
In the spring, the third Raikage planted a son in the fire country. By autumn, he wouldn't be blessed with a full clan of descendants.
Because the fourth Raikage would dig himself out and he was furious. Lightning crashes again.
Seeing his brother in trouble, Killer Bee's body ignited with a bubbling red chakra cloak. Even though Gyuki was gone, Bee had retained a single octopus tentacle, a limited reserve of 8 tails chakra. It wouldn't last forever, and once depleted, he would die. But right now, with his brother in danger, Bee couldn't afford to hesitate.
Lariat!
A red blur shot across the battlefield. Bee's hooked right arm smashed into the third Raikage's throat, launching him backward into a boulder.
Ordinarily, this technique would break an enemy's neck. But against the third Raikage?
It was only enough to buy time for the fourth Raikage to pull himself free from the crater.
Not bad, B.
The third Raikage tore free from the rubble, returning the favor with his own lariat. B barely managed to raise his arms in defense. Only for the fourth Raikage to intercept, tackling him aside and countering with a lariat of his own.
The result? Both father and son ended up grappling each other, simultaneously locking lariats around each other's necks. Ra-ag! Harg!
Both flexed their muscles, trying to force the other down, but neither could overpower the other's lightning chakra armor. They eventually stumbled apart, releasing their holds. The third Raikage exhaled sharply, his lightning cloak flaring up.
Enough games.
He raised 2 fingers, his chakra surging further.
So you're going straight for Hell Stab, 2-finger version?
The fourth Raikage mirrored his father's stance, but he only raised a single finger. He knew his father's defense was called the strongest shield. None of his previous attacks had broken through.
That left only one answer. The strongest spear.
The third Raikage narrowed his gaze.
If you pierce my defenses, you'll die too. And what? You expect me to run? Call someone else to stop you? Don't make me laugh. I am the Raikage.
The third Raikage's lips curled slightly. Your ninjutsu was average at best, but at least you carry yourself like a Raikage. And with that he charged. The fourth Raikage did the same.
2 blades of lightning pierced through flesh at the same time.
Blood splattered the ground. The fourth Raikage smirked, looking at the hand stab through his own chest.
Not bad. But his own hell stab had also landed. A single, high-powered thrust. Straight into the same old wound on his father's chest. The scar left by his previous battle with the 8 tails. His strongest spear had finally broken through the strongest shield. The third Raikage chuckled. Took you long enough?
Then he staggered slightly, the sealing marks already crawling up his body.
Tenten swiftly unsealed a scroll, completing the sealing technique before the Edo Tensei body could regenerate.
The fourth Raikage exhaled, pressing his bleeding shoulder.
That old man. Always making things difficult. Yo, bro. I'm good. Killer Bee grinned, giving a thumbs up. Before collapsing face first. B.
The fourth Raikage panicked, checking his brother's pulse. B was still alive, but his chakra reserves were dangerously low. I'll get you both to Lady Tsunade immediately. Tenten rushed over, her flying thunder god kunai already in hand. The fourth Raikage looked at her gratefully.
Do it. Anoki couldn't resist smirking. A bit embarrassing, don't you think, Raikage? The fourth Raikage gritted his teeth. At least I didn't throw my back out, old man. Tenten quickly teleported them away before the argument escalated. With the Raikage brothers gone, Anoki turned to Gaara. Time to help the Mizukage. The first Mizukage noticed Anoki and Gaara approaching from the sky. He tried to raise a water fawn bullet to push them back, only for Yagura Karatachi to slap his arm. Coral began spreading from the impact. The first Mizukage didn't panic.
Instead, he immediately pulled out a kunai and sliced off his own arm. The coral-encased limb fell to the ground, while a new one rapidly regenerated.
Yagura sighed. Sacrificing a limb to counter my technique? You live up to your legend.
The first Mizukage chuckled. If I were truly as strong as my reputation, I wouldn't have lost to a child.
Anoki and Gaara landed next to Yagura. The first Mizukage surveyed the battlefield. I see the others have fallen. You three plan to take me down together? Gaara nodded.
You contributed greatly to the Mist Village.
I respect that.
But now, we must end this. The first Mizukage simply smiled.
Do what you must. And so, the final battle commenced. Despite his incredible power, the first Mizukage was still outnumbered and outmaneuvered. In the end, Gaara sealed him inside another sand pyramid. Just before being fully restrained, the first Mizukage spoke one last time. I have a feeling. Something isn't right about the one controlling us. Be cautious. Anoki raised an eyebrow. Controlling you? That should be Orochimaru. What's suspicious about him? Yagura folded his arms. Orochimaru isn't a little suspicious. He's entirely suspicious.
As the four Kage clashed against their predecessors, the sensory division in the command center suddenly detected new incoming threats.
Lord Hokage. The sensory ninja's face turned pale. New enemies are heading toward the command post.
A group of 7, but their chakra levels are nearly on par with tailed beasts.
Minato stood up immediately, adjusting his kunai pouch. His expression was unreadable. So they've finally arrived. Don't forget to drop some power stones.
For early access to advanced chapters on Patreon.
Patreon/IamSino.
Thank you so much for your support and for reading.
Chapter 335, 336. Screw your fake world, motherfucker. 868 words.
Minato, Kushina, Naruto, Kakashi, Sasuke, Shisui, and Itachi. 7 people lined up in a dense forest, about 7 or 8 kilometers east of the command center, awaiting their guest. For now, Minato had temporarily handed over command to Shikaku, Nara and Mabui of the Cloud Village. To be honest, if they could solve everything right here, they might as well leave a pig in charge of the command post. It didn't take long before their visitor arrived. A man in a blue robe and a white mask emerged from the shadows. The mask had black circular patterns and 3 tomo, with 2 open holes revealing his left Rinnegan and right Sharingan. Behind him, 6 figures stood in formation, each one possessing the same left Rinnegan and right Sharingan. Before anyone could speak, Minato quickly identified each of them aloud, preparing his comrades for battle. Fu, the tailed monk of Sand Village. Rashi, the lava release wielder from Rock Village. Han, the steam ninja of Rock Village. Yujido Ni, the two-tails Jinchuriki from Cloud Village. Bluebi, Burubi, the previous 8-tails Jinchuriki from Cloud Village. And lastly, Mito-sama. The final name wasn't spoken by Minato. It was Kushina, her voice trembling. She had immediately recognized the last figure. A frail, elderly woman in white, her once vibrant red hair faded with age, and a rhombus-shaped seal on her forehead just like Tsunade's strength of 100 seal. This was Uzumaki Mito, the wife of the first Hokage, the first 9-tails Jinchuriki, and the woman who had been like a grandmother to Kushina. At first, everyone had been focused on Tobi, but now, their attention shifted to the old woman. Shisui rested a hand on his sword, murmuring, "So that's the first Hokage's wife?" Itachi, his Sharingan spinning, analyzed, she was known as an incredibly powerful kunoichi. Judging by her chakra, that reputation wasn't exaggerated. Sasuke glanced at Naruto. This must be one of his relatives, right? Naruto, meanwhile, wasn't looking at Mito. He was watching 9-tails inside his mindscape. The giant fox was visibly agitated, digging his claws into the ground. Naruto. Kurama's deep voice rumbled. That woman is dangerous. She's stronger than my mom? Kurama grumbled. He didn't like this conversation. Who knows? Ha, you're nervous.
Shut up, brat. Suddenly. Obito. Why would you go this far? Kushina's fiery Uzumaki temper finally exploded.
Seeing her beloved grandmother's corpse being controlled like a puppet, she was ready to tear him apart.
Toby, however, only scoffed. You must be mistaken. That man is dead. Killed in the war, just another tragic hero of Konoha. Minato frowned. So now you're even denying your own existence? Call me what you like. Toby dismissed. It doesn't matter. My only goal is to take the 9 tails. His gaze drifted between Naruto and Kushina as if debating who to target first. Obito.
Kakashi stepped forward, fists clenched.
Rin. Stop. Obito cut him off immediately, his tone cold and indifferent. Don't give me that look, Kakashi. Kakashi's heart pounded. You don't blame me? This world is meaningless. Even if I blamed you, what difference would it make? Your plan is madness. Minato countered. Even if you succeed, it won't last. In a few decades, everyone inside the dream will die. Then what? The infinite Tsukuyomi world will collapse. Obito grinned behind his mask. No, you're wrong. The divine tree will sustain the people forever. Wishes will be granted infinitely. Even immortality will be possible. That world will be eternal. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Okay, I've heard enough. This guy needs to be beaten up first before we can talk sense into him. Suddenly, Obito's voice boomed with emotion. Naruto. Naruto blinked. Ha? Obito pointed at him dramatically. You must be suffering. Silence. Everyone just stared at him. Obito continued, completely serious. You were born a Jinchuriki. From the moment you entered this world, you were forced to coexist with a monster. No matter how your parents tried to justify it, they sealed the beast inside you against your will. You've tasted despair more than anyone. Haven't you? For a moment, the forest was dead silent. Then, everyone turned to look at Naruto. He was staring at Obito like he was an absolute moron. Even Sasuke had to resist the urge to facepalm. Naruto was in despair? Was I missing something? He stole a glance at Naruto's annoyed expression. And immediately felt embarrassed for even considering it. Yeah, never mind. Obito, however, was fully convinced. You don't have to pretend anymore, Naruto. I understand your pain. This world is a nightmare. But I can free you from it. I will create the perfect world. Naruto cut him off. So basically, you're offering me a dreamland because you think I'm miserable? Obito nodded. Then I have just one thing to say to that. Naruto took a deep breath. And shouted. Screw your fake world, motherfucker! Obito flinched. Everyone else just burst into laughter. Even Minato had to cough to hide his amusement. Sasuke, still smirking, thought to himself. This guy seriously thought Naruto was suffering? Put. He should try fighting Gen, Daiki, and Jiro first. Then he'll know what actual despair looks like. Chapter 336, 337. Are you alright? 983 words. Sorry, but I have no idea what you're talking about. My fox is actually really cute. I have precious family and friends. Everything I've seen so far has been moving in a positive direction. Naruto folded his arms and sneered at Obito. That is until you idiots showed up and started causing trouble. If you like dreaming so much, why not just put yourself under a genjutsu and crawl into some random hole instead? Why the hell do you have to drag us into this, you fucker? Naruto couldn't see Obito's expression under the mask. But if he were in Obito's shoes, he knew he'd be dying of embarrassment right now. Imagine ranting for half an hour, thinking you'd figured someone out only to be completely wrong. And if Obito had any shame at all, he'd be furious about it. Then there's nothing more to say.
Whether Obito was truly unfazed or simply swallowing his anger, no one could tell.
After a brief silence, he spoke. Then I have nothing more to say to you.
His Rinnegan glowed faintly as he raised a hand.
Come witness my creations. The new 6 paths of pain.
The first to move was Rashi, the Four-Tails Jinchuriki.
Lava release, scorching river rock jutsu. He inhaled deeply and then fired 5 massive spheres of molten lava, each the size of a basketball. It was almost as if he wanted to join the fireball jutsu cult. Sasuke! Naruto shouted. Sasuke instantly understood. His Sharingan spun as he placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, channeling lightning chakra into his jutsu. Water release, thunder water dragon bullet. A colossal water dragon, crackling with blue lightning, roared forward, its jaws snapping shut around the molten lava balls.
The intense heat sizzled and steamed, but the electric currents accelerated the cooling, causing the lava to harden and crumble.
The dragon continued charging straight at the enemy.
Before the attack could land, a giant pair of hands made of sand erupted from the ground.
What? Naruto's eyes widened.
The enormous sand hands clashed against the electric water dragon, absorbing the force before collapsing into wet piles of mud.
Standing behind them was Fu, the 7-Tails Jinchuriki.
Hands clasped in a prayer position, her calm expression never wavered.
Sasuke removed his hand from Naruto's shoulder and shook his wrist. That took too much chakra. Was that really necessary? Naruto waved him off. Oh, come on, that was just a little chakra. Don't worry about it. Sasuke's veins bulged. I'm not a chakra monster like you idiot. Oh, right. Naruto nodded. You're weaker than me. Who the hell is weaker than you?
Obito watched the bickering idiots in silence.
Something about their dynamics stirred an old memory. He and Kakashi. They had been just like this.
Back in their mission days, they had argued constantly, but even in the middle of battle, they trusted each other. They could read each other's moves just from a single shout. And after every fight, they'd continue their bickering just like Naruto and Sasuke. And back then, Rin would have been smiling beside them.
Obito snapped himself out of it. That world is gone. Only the new world matters. All of my wishes, Rin, peace. Everything will be real again once I take the 9 tails. Itachi had been watching closely. That sand manipulation, it resembles Gaara's ability. Shursui nodded. To be precise, that's the 1 tail's power. He glanced at their enemies and narrowed his eyes. Judging by the way they move, these bodies aren't just Edo Tensei summons. Their bodies have been implanted with tailed beast chakra. They may even be capable of full transformation. Minato frowned. So we have no choice but to take them down and seal them. He flipped a special kunai into his grip. Shursui, Itachi, try using Genjutsu. Both Uchiha activated their Mangekyo Sharingan and tested their illusions. After a few moments, they shook their heads. No effect. It's the Rinnegan's control, Itachi deduced. They're immune to visual Genjutsu. Suddenly, the enemy launched a counterattack. 2 Tails' former Jinchuriki, Yujido Ni, stepped forward. Fire release, fire rat bullets. Dozens of blue fireballs, shaped like tiny rats, shot forward in all directions. And then, they turned around. They're homing. Naruto yelped. Enough of this. Crush. Golden red chakra erupted. Kushina's body was wrapped in black and gold markings, forming a flaming chakra cloak. 9 Tails Chakra Mode, Female Edition. Her fiery hair whipped in the wind as she shook her cloak, blasting away the fire bullets. Then, she shot forward like a cannonball. Don't you dare defile Mito-sama's remains. 5 Tails Jinchuriki, Han, moved to intercept. Vapor style, monster strength strike. His elbow vents released a massive burst of steam, boosting his punch forward like a rocket. Kushina swung her fist at the same time.
The air exploded from the force of the clash. For a brief moment, their punches locked.
Then, Han went flying.
Crashing through several trees, his Edo Tensei body slowly regenerated.
But Kushina didn't even look back. Forget him. Obito's the one I'm after. Obito smirked under his mask. Perfect. Exactly as planned. Just as Kushina closed the gap, golden chains shot forward. Adamantine sealing chains. Kushina's instincts screamed. She knew this technique better than anyone. But in that split second of hesitation, KCHNG. Her arms were caught. Not by Obito. By Mito Uzumaki. Golden chains whipped from the first Hokage's wife, locking onto Kushina with crushing force. Kushina's eyes widened. Crap! Sheeing. A second set of chains erupted. This time, from Naruto. Golden chains clashed and intertwined, battling in midair. Watergate and Naruto stood protectively in front of Kushina. They turned their heads and smiled at the same time. Are you all right? Kushina stared at them. Despite the battlefield chaos, she felt completely safe. And somehow, seeing their matching smiles, she just knew everything would be okay. She nodded. Yeah. Chapter 337, 338. Reunion with Mito. 801 words. Obito's voice was calm, but his chakra surged violently. Fire release, Kamui Flame Cyclone. A spiraling serpent of flames erupted from a distorted pocket of space, twisting like a drill of fire as it raced toward Minato, Kushina, and Naruto. It moved faster than any normal fire release and had enough power to roast Gamabunta alive. But before it could engulf them, 9 chakra tails exploded from Kushina's back, swinging with thunderous force. The tail smashed into the flames, snuffing them out completely and at the same time, forced Obito to retreat. Naruto whistled. Damn, Mom. That was clean. Kushina flipped her hair, grinning. Of course. You think your dad's the only badass in this family? Minato, taking advantage of the opening, hurled a special kunai at Obito, but Obito knew better than to test his reaction speed against the yellow flash. He batted the kunai away and retreated further just as Monk Bun, now Gen, sent a wave of sand to shield him. At the same time, Kushina and Naruto both unleashed their adamantine sealing chains at Uzumaki Mito. The elder Uzumaki's body twitched. And then, a red chakra cloak flared to life around her. Kushina's eyes widened. Naruto froze. The 9 tails inside both of them growled in alarm. And in the next instant, the world shifted. White mist filled their vision. A spiritual space. Naruto immediately recognized it. Mental space? Like a mindscape? I'm familiar with this feeling. Kushina, Kurama, and even the older 9 tails within her were all there. But they weren't alone. Standing before them, smiling gently. Uzumaki Mito. Mito-sama. Without hesitation, Kushina rushed forward, throwing herself into Mito's arms like a child seeking comfort. Mito gently stroked Kushina's fiery red hair, her soft chuckle filled with warmth. You've grown up, Kushina. Have you been well? Kushina laughed and cried at the same time, clinging onto Mito. I mean, life was rough for a while, but I have a wonderful family now. Then, suddenly, she sniffled. And then, as if remembering something terrible, she looked up with a serious expression. Also, Tsunade still isn't married. Mito smiled fondly at Kushina's animated storytelling, but after a while, she shifted her gaze to Naruto. And is that your son? Kushina froze for a second, then turned to Naruto, frowning. Naruto, hurry up and wait, what should you call her? Naruto didn't hesitate. Mito Bacon. Mito blinked and then burst into laughter. What a lively child. Yes, that's just fine. She patted Naruto's head, her touch as gentle as a breeze.
I see you've inherited both your parents' strengths. You are truly a remarkable young man.
But then, Mito's attention shifted.
It has been a long time, Nine Tails.
Kurama snorted. What, are you going to start preaching again? Mito shook her head. I only have one thing to say.
She bowed her head slightly.
I apologize. Kurama's eyes widened. What? For imprisoning you. For hating you.
I misunderstood you, and for that, I am sorry.
Kurama was stunned. He was not used to this. It felt weird.
His ears twitched. His tails flicked awkwardly. Then he grumbled, turning his head away.
Whatever.
But his tail swished happily behind him. Mito smiled knowingly, but Mito's expression soon turned serious.
My time here is short. Listen carefully.
Among the 6 Rinnegan-controlled bodies, 4 have fully implanted tailed beasts: 2 tails, 4 tails, 5 tails, and 8 tails.
Once they fully transform, Blackrod's Rinnegan control stakes will embed into their bodies. If you get a chance, try pulling those out.
It may disrupt Obito's control. She smiled warmly one last time.
Kushina, Naruto, Minato, you are all wonderful children. I believe in you. And with that, Mito Uzumaki faded. The entire conversation had happened within mere seconds. Kushina breathed deeply, regaining her focus.
She and Naruto locked eyes.
And without speaking,
they moved in perfect sync.
Let's end this. Oh. 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 Naruto, Kushina, and the 2 Kuramas.
From a distance, Obito's expression darkened.
What? He could feel it. Uzumaki Mito had interfered.
Even though she was dead. Even though he had complete control over her body. She had still defied his will.
How is this possible?
Even with Edo Tensei, the Rinnegan, and my black rods.
How can she still resist? Was it because she was a legendary Uzumaki? Or was it because she was simply that strong-willed? Damn it! Obito bit his lip in frustration. Let's see how you handle this. Plan B, or maybe Plan C? Obito formed a seal. Monk suddenly acted.
A massive wave of sand erupted from the ground, surging toward Minato.
And at the same time, Gen raised an iron pot. From within it, dark chains shot out. And this time, their target was Minato. End of chapter. Chapter 338, 339. The Tailed Beast Battle. 1105 words. Bunpuka's sealing technique was practically the bane of tailed beasts, especially in extracting their chakra. Both Gaara and Fu had suffered at the hands of this technique, and that was just from his disciples. I won't let you succeed. With a swift whoosh, Minato disappeared, reappearing precisely at the location where Obito had deflected his kunai earlier. At this distance? What can you even do? Obito was brimming with confidence. There was no flying thunder god seal near Bunpuku. What was Minato going to do, teleport out of thin air? Sage Art, Giant Rasengan. Minato drove a massive Rasengan into Bunpuku, slamming him to the ground. Don't forget, I'm highly skilled in regular body flicker jutsu as well. Now then, sealing. Lava style, Scorching River of Flames. Fire style, Mouse Fur Ball Bombs. Lightning style, Scattershot Moryu Streak. Rashi, Yujido Ni, and Bluebee each launched their own attacks, risking injury to interrupt Minato's sealing attempt. Meanwhile, Han was engaged in a distant skirmish with Sasuke. Earth style Wall. ×3. In a rare moment of poetic justice, Kakashi's signature defensive technique was now being copied by Shisui and Itachi, erecting 3 simultaneous barriers to block the oncoming jutsu. Oddly enough, even though all 3 had copied the exact same hand signs and chakra flow, for some reason, only Kakashi's wall had a dog's face sculpted into it. Shisui and Itachi were briefly baffled by this strange phenomenon, but there was no time to dwell on it.
they had more pressing matters to handle.
This isn't good. Obito noticed that both Bunpuku and Nito Uzumaki were being suppressed, tipping the battle against him.
He formed a seal, and suddenly, the remaining 4 Jinchuriki erupted with a surge of red chakra.
Their bodies rapidly transformed. Complete tailed beast transformations. Yujidoni morphed into a massive blue feline, the 2 tails, Matatabi.
Rashi became an enormous crimson ape, the 4 tails, Son Goku. Han turned into a hulking white beast with a single, powerful horn, the 5 tails, Kokuo. Blueby shifted into a monstrous bull-headed octopus, the 8 tails, Gyuki.
Ruo Orar. The 4 massive creatures unleashed a deafening roar, their towering figures radiating raw ferocity as they glared down at the Konoha shinobi. Summoning Jutsu. Sasuke, refusing to be overshadowed, summoned Aoda, his massive blue snake. He wasn't about to let Naruto and Kushina have all the fun he needed to get some hits in. Standing atop Aoda's head, Sasuke felt like a king, preparing to strike Kokuo with a Chidori sharp spear. But before he could act, bam! Kokuo charged at blinding speed, head lowered, using its massive horn like a battering ram. The impact was so immense that Aoda didn't even have time to react. He was sent flying, dispelled in an instant. Damn it! Sasuke landed roughly, barely managing to get back to his feet. The confidence he had just moments ago was nowhere to be seen. Shisui and Itachi, after confirming that he was uninjured, thoughtfully refrained from commenting.
Meanwhile, Minato and Kakashi maintained their focused gazes on the 4 massive tailed beasts.
Sasuke's embarrassment began to subside. Naruto. Got it.
Naruto and Kushina clashed fists with their respective 9 tails, and in an instant, 2 colossal foxes emerged onto the battlefield. Both mother and son became cloaked in golden chakra, standing proudly atop their respective tailed beasts. The battle had truly begun. Obito's controlled 4-tailed beasts charged. Kokuo was the fastest, lowering its horn once more and charging toward Kushina with an unstoppable momentum. Behind it, Matatabi was a step slower, fangs bared, preparing to pounce on Naruto. Son Goku moved on all 4s at a moderate pace, while Guki's movements looked particularly strange. His tentacle legs didn't seem designed for land battles. Neither Kushina nor Naruto showed any hesitation. Their colossal foxes dashed forward to meet the charge. Kushina, seeing Kokuo closing in, whipped her claws across its exposed neck. The 5 tails was sent flying sideways, tumbling across the ground, leaving a deep trench in its wake. Naruto, taking a cue from his mother, delivered a massive swipe to Matatabi, sending it crashing alongside Kokuo. He had fought this big cat in Land of Bears, so he already knew how to handle it. Behind them, Son Goku and Gyuki took advantage of the opening, ramming into both Kuramas. The force sent both Kuramas staggering backward several meters. It was the first successful counterattack from the enemy. The 4 massive beasts squared off once more, bracing for the next clash. Naruto was the first to break the deadlock. With a powerful grip, his Kurama caught Son Goku by the arm. Then, with an effortless spin, giant swing, Naruto swung Son Goku twice before hurling him through the air. His trajectory? Directly into Gyuki. The impact sent both crashing into Matatabi and Kokuo, creating a pileup of giant beasts. Nice one, Naruto. Kushina beamed, and the 2 Kuramas high-fived. Inside the seal, both Kuramas were thoroughly enjoying themselves. This was one hell of a fight. Slowly, the 4 enemy-tailed beasts regained their footing. This time, they stood in unison, gathering a massive, combined-tailed beast bomb. It was clear they weren't winning in close-quarters combat. Time to use the big guns. Naruto and Kushina didn't back down. Their Kuramas began gathering their own tailed beast bomb, one just as large. If you wanna brawl, let's brawl. If you wanna blast, we'll blast. The strongest tailed beast Nine Tails feared nothing. Both tailed beast bombs launched simultaneously, colliding in midair. At first, it wasn't obvious, but as the spheres connected, the size difference became painfully clear. The larger bomb was easily overwhelming the smaller one. The gathered spectators instantly noticed. Obito, in particular, was stunned. How was it possible that four-tailed beasts working together had produced a smaller-tailed beast bomb than two? No, technically speaking, those two should count as one. Did the Nine Tails really have this much of a power advantage? This wasn't normal. But the reality was harsh. The larger-tailed beast bomb overpowered the smaller one, sending it hurtling backwards, straight into the four enemy-tailed beasts. A brilliant explosion filled the battlefield, engulfing everything in a blinding white light. Every Sharingan wielder present instinctively shuts their eyes. The shockwave shook the entire battlefield. Kushina and Naruto weren't done. Even with their eyes closed, they sensed the weakened state of the enemy. Now was the perfect moment to strike. Golden chains burst forth. 10 adamantine sealing chains shot toward the enemy. With this final move, the battle was decided. Chapter 339, 340. Orochimaru has vanished. 1,120 words. The four-tailed beasts were bound by golden chains, their necks and tails restrained. Their massive forms were also pinned to the ground by the chakra-formed hands of the Nine Tails, rendering them completely immobile. Naruto and Kushina didn't forget Mito Uzumaki's advice. They carefully located the black rods embedded in the tailed beasts and wrapped their chains around them, yanking them out with all their strength. The tailed beasts let out pained roars, and then, all at once, they extended a joint invitation to Naruto and Kushina into a shared mental space. Inside the familiar white void, Matatabi, Two Tails, Son Goku, Four Tails, Kokuo, Five Tails, and Gyuki, Eight Tails, stood quietly, along with their respective Jinchuriki, waiting for them. It's been a while, fourth Hokage's wife and son. Or should I say, Nine Tails Jinchuriki, Matatabi greeted them. Of the four, she was the only one who had previously met Naruto and Kushina. Naruto waved at them, smiling. Hey there. Sorry for being a little rough earlier. Kurama, however, snorted and jabbed Naruto's head with a massive claw. What are you apologizing for? These guys let themselves get caught and controlled, they deserved a beating. Oi, you're still the same as ever, huh? Gyuki chuckled, shaking his head. Among the tailed beasts, he was the most mature, speaking like an older brother. Son Goku rumbled in his deep, gravelly voice, so you finally found a human worth trusting? These two? They don't seem all that special. Then, with a resigned sigh, the Four Tails muttered, fine. I'll trust your judgment for now. As long as they don't end up as stubborn as Rashi. Kurama tilted his head back arrogantly, his tail swishing. My judgment is never wrong. Alright, we don't have much time left, Kokuo said in a calm, composed voice. Would you two mind stepping forward? There's something we'd like to entrust to you. Something? Kushina frowned slightly in confusion. Naruto, sensing it was important, gently pulled her along, raising his fist. Matatabi pressed her paw against their fists. The Sage of Six Paths created us, hoping that we could one day coexist peacefully with humans, not be used as weapons of destruction. We're counting on you. One by one, the other tailed beasts joined in, stacking their fists, paws, and hooves. We're counting on you. Son Goku. We're counting on you. Kokuo. We're counting on you. Gyuki. Kushina gasped slightly, looking down at her hands. This is chakra? Matatabi nodded. It's not much, but we're entrusting you with a piece of our chakra. You'll need it in the future. As for the others, you should be able to contact them when the time comes, ****. As the chakra transfer was completed, Yujidoni finally spoke. We may have been enemies once, but right now, all we can do is trust you. Rashi folded his arms, sighing. Never thought I'd see the day where I'd have to rely on shinobi from another village. Has that stubborn old fool Inoki actually learned to adapt? Han, ever the peacekeeper, chuckled. Don't be so harsh. The five great nations fighting side by side, doesn't that sound like a good thing? Besides, when it comes to being stubborn, you weren't much better yourself when you were alive. Blueby let out a small laugh. I guess I'm technically your senior, huh? Sorry for the trouble. He had, after all, been betrayed and killed by Orochimaru, only to be resurrected and used as a pawn again.
Fate sure is a twisted thing, he murmured. Meanwhile, in the real world,
I can't afford to lose the tailed beasts. Seeing that all 4 of them had been sealed, Obito clenched his fingers into a hand seal, his Rinnegan glowing ominously. Summoning Jutsu, Geto Statue.
Ruo Arair.
The ground split open, and from the cracks in the earth, a colossal, 100-meter-tall humanoid monstrosity emerged. Its skeletal body loomed over the battlefield, its gaping mouth twisted in an eternal scream.
So this is the Geto Statue. Minato narrowed his eyes.
The husk of the 10 tails. Given that they had just witnessed a battle between tailed beasts, the arrival of this monstrosity wasn't as shocking as it might have been otherwise. Elsewhere, in a hidden laboratory, Orochimaru momentarily paused dissecting White Zetsu's arm, a wicked grin spreading across his face.
Finally, it appears. For this exact moment, Orochimaru had made sure to subtly interfere.
He had released the seal restraining Mito Uzumaki's consciousness, allowing her to briefly resist Obito's control, forcing Obito to reveal his trump card earlier than planned.
And now that it was here,
a tiny snake slithered unseen through the battlefield, approaching the massive Geto statue's foot.
Then, with a bite, crack! Its fangs snapped instantly.
The small snake whimpered pitifully before burrowing underground to report back. Of course it's indestructible, Orochimaru chuckled.
He wasn't surprised. He simply formed a hand seal.
Moments later, not far from the battlefield, a coffin emerged from the ground.
From it, an Iwagakure shinobi, one of Orochimaru's Edo Tensei pawns, stepped forward.
Without a word, the reanimated shinobi used earth release to burrow deep beneath the battlefield, beneath the Geto statue's feet. Scrape, scrape, scrape. With careful precision, the IWA ninja shaved off microscopic fragments from the Geto statue's foot. This wasn't done with ordinary tools but with one of Orochimaru's personally crafted Kusanagi blades, one of the few weapons capable of cutting even a sliver from this legendary entity. He sealed the gathered dust into a small vial. Then, the same tiny snake from before slithered back, opening its mouth. The IWA ninja carefully placed the vial inside. The snake disappeared into the shadows, its mission complete. Oblivious to Orochimaru's Geto statue pedicure, Obito focused on retrieving the tailed beasts. From the Geto statue's mouth, 6 massive, glowing purple chains shot out. The ensnared tailed beasts, along with the already sealed Bunpuku and Mito Uzumaki, were dragged back into the monstrous entity. As the 4 tailed beasts disappeared, Naruto and Kushina's mental link was severed. Kushina clenched her fists. They're gone. Then, her gaze steeled. It's up to us now. We'll bring them back. Just as Obito prepared for another grand monologue, Black Zetsu suddenly emerged beside him. Obito, we have a problem. Obito frowned. What is it? Orochimaru has. And with him, so has Madara's corpse. Obito's eye twitched. And then twitched again. The world truly didn't deserve to exist. Black Zetsu added grimly, oh, and all the Edo Tensei shinobi are free now. They've started massacring White Zetsu clones. The Uchiha in particular are. Boom! A massive blue Susanoo blade wiped out an entire wave of White Zetsu. Obito sighed. Damn you, Orochimaru. Chapter 341. Awaken, 10. 1111 words. The Geto statue rumbled as it charged forward, its massive frame making it seem clumsy and sluggish compared to the nimble movements of the 2 Ninetales. Naruto rushed in to meet it head-on, delivering a full-force punch, free of any friendship-powered mercy, right into the Geto statue's jaw. From Naruto's perspective, the Geto statue stood even taller than Kurama. The heavy blow made the Geto statue's head snap sideways, but it quickly retaliated. A massive fist swung down, slamming into the Ninetale's abdomen, sending Naruto staggering backwards. Seeing an opening, Kushina took control of the other Ninetales and leapt high into the air. She brought her fist down like a meteor, smashing into the Geto statue's skull. The earth beneath it cracked and shattered from the sheer force, but the ghetto statue regained its footing and countered with an elbow strike, sending Kushina's nine tails flying.
Naruto quickly recovered, a tailed beast bomb forming in his nine tails mouth. Seeing Kushina temporarily forced back, he immediately fired.
With no time to dodge, the ghetto statue opened its mouth, forming a tailed beast bomb of its own.
Obito could have commanded it to evade, but what was the point of revealing his trump card if he didn't dominate the battlefield? His ego demanded a head-on clash. The two-tailed beast bombs collided in midair, their impact redirecting them straight into the sky, where they exploded like a miniature sun, casting an intense white flash across the battlefield. The explosion was blinding from every angle.
For those watching from the ground, the only logical reaction was,
"Damn, that's bright. Not enough. Again." Obito growled. He refused to accept equal footing in this battle.
The ghetto statue's mouth opened once more, forming a tailed beast bomb even larger than the previous one, even bigger than the combined power of the two nine tails.
It was clear now, absorbing tailed beasts wasn't just a simple addition, the ghetto statue amplified their power exponentially.
Naruto looked at the approaching massive sphere of destruction and grinned.
"Obito, your Kamui dimension is getting another visitor."
With a flicker of spacetime distortions, the massive tailed beast bomb disappeared, swallowed by Kamui and redirected into Obito's personal dimension.
Obito's expression darkened. He had completely forgotten that Naruto could do that.
This damn brat was using his Kamui space better than he was.
Deciding that long-range tactics were useless, Obito commanded the ghetto statue to charge in, engaging the two nine-tails in brutal close combat. A colossal clash erupted, shaking the battlefield as giants tore into each other.
Kurama's massive claws raked across the ghetto statue's armor, while the ghetto statue's fists pummeled the nine tails' bodies.
The impact of their strikes flattened everything in their surroundings. At this rate, the first one to fall wouldn't be the tailed beasts, it would be Obito himself. He was burning through chakra fast, and to make things worse, Kakashi and Sasuke had disappeared from sight. No doubt Minato had given them a mission. Why did his back suddenly feel cold? He couldn't afford to drag this out any longer.
Obito's Rinnegan flared, and the ghetto statue suddenly surged with power. It tore itself free, knocking both nine tails back, and from its mouth, two glowing purple chains shot forward. They wrapped around the nine tails' throats, pulling them toward its maw.
Crap!
Naruto fought against the chains, trying to break free, but they were impossibly strong.
Even partial-tailed beast transformation couldn't force him loose. He could feel it, something inside him was being ripped away. Adamantine sealing chains. Golden chains shot out from Kushina, coiling tightly around the purple ones. The tug-of-war began. For now, they weren't losing ground, but they weren't winning either. Seeing their struggle, Shisui and Itachi arrived.
Two colossal Susanoo warriors rose from the battlefield, one emerald green, one crimson red. The green Susanoo, Shisui, grasped the chains, holding them back with sheer force, preventing the ghetto statue from pulling the nine tails further. The red Susanoo, Itachi, raised its shield, blocking a massive punch from the ghetto statue.
Amaterasu.
Itachi's eyes bled, and black flames erupted along the purple chains, melting them away. The nine tails were freed. Naruto's eyes widened in shock.
Even that worked?
Those chains aren't just physical objects, their seals are pure chakra.
Amaterasu still burned through them? This wasn't over.
Itachi shifted his gaze, locking eyes with the ghetto statue's nine Rinnegan eyes.
The next second black flames engulfed its entire face. Shisui's Susanoo wasn't idle either.
A spiraling ethereal blade appeared in its hands, the Kusanagi of the Uchiha. With one mighty stab, the blade pierced deep into the ghetto statue's chest, forcing a howl of pain from the monstrous entity. The ghetto statue raised its hands to swat away the flames, but that only made it worse. The moment its hands touched its burning face, the flames spread. Obito, seeing things going south, had the ghetto statue grab the Kusanagi blade, channeling the Amaterasu flames onto it. Now, the Uchiha's own flames were being turned against them.
Shisui narrowed his eyes, there was no choice.
He dispelled the ethereal sword, causing the flames to drop harmlessly onto the ground. Meanwhile, Kakashi and Sasuke had managed to flank Obito from behind, preparing for a sneak attack. But just as they were about to strike, Obito leapt onto the Geto statue's shoulder, forcing them to hold back. Preta path. A wave of chakra absorption swept across the battlefield. The Amaterasu flames vanished. Itachi clicked his tongue. TCH. That was the only flaw of Amaterasu, it couldn't be controlled once unleashed. The Geto statue, though now smoking and charred, remained standing. Its 9 eyes still glowed. Obito exhaled slowly, regaining composure. Both of you have awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan, right? His voice was sharp. Then you must have suffered an unbearable loss. Why fight against me? Neither Shisui nor Itachi answered. Their pain didn't drive them to destroy the world. For Shisui, he had long struggled between loyalty to his clan and the village, watching both suffer. For Itachi, his Mangekyo's awakening was ridiculous. Is Sasuke being kidnapped by Biruko? That wasn't pain, that was pure rage. The very idea of destroying the world over personal suffering was beyond their comprehension. Obito, stop wasting time. Black Zetsu grew impatient. This was the closest they had ever been to success. Obito knew the battlefield was slipping out of his control. If he delayed further, the 5 Kage and reinforcements would soon arrive. Zetsu, didn't you say the 10 Tails doesn't need to be completed to revive? Black Zetsu hesitated. That's true, but... Then that's enough. Obito raised his hand. Awaken, 10 Tails. Chapter 341-342. A fall on flat ground? 1196 words. Ra! The demonic statue of the outer path roared, clutching its head. Its 9 eyes bulged wide, bloodshot and wild, while its chakras surged violently, stirring up a storm of dust and debris. Be careful! Kurama warned. It looks like the 10 Tails is about to be revived. Even if it hasn't gathered all the tailed beast's chakra, that thing's power is no joke. Naruto clasped his hands together, entering Sage Mode while maintaining his tailed beast transformation. His slitted fox pupils overlapped with the horizontal frog-like pupils of Sage Mode, forming the distinctive cross-shaped eyes known as Sage Fox Mode. Kurama asked, Naruto, what are you planning? Naruto had already begun forming a tailed beast bomb. Obviously, I'm going to hit it with one. There's no rule saying we have to wait for the enemy to finish transforming before attacking, right? That's true, but that guy's Rinnegan can absorb tailed beast bombs, can't it? Kurama pointed out, recalling how Obito had absorbed even Amaterasu. Which is why I'm going to infuse it with Sage Jutsu. No harm in trying. Naruto said matter-of-factly. Don't just stand there, give me a hand. Let's go big on this one. Hearing Naruto complain, Kurama snapped, haven't I been helping from the start? Really? No wonder the natural energy is gathering so fast. Ha ha. Naruto chuckled. I thought this form had some kind of special boost. Kurama sighed, unwilling to argue with an idiot. Alright, it's ready to fire. Sage Art, Tailed Beast Bomb. A massive tailed beast bomb, even larger than Kurama's own head, shot forward, striking the demonic statue's chest. Boom! The explosion rocked the battlefield, sending the massive statue crashing onto its back. A brilliant white light engulfed its form. Did it work? Kakashi and Sasuke, watching from the shadows, held their breath. It's useless. Obito's voice rang out as the transformation continued unhindered. He had used the statue to shield himself from the explosion and now emerged, sneering. Watch closely, this is the beginning of the end. As if in response to his words, the 10 Tails let out a deafening roar. Its transformation was complete. 10 Tails whipped through the air behind it. Its main body resembled a hermit crab hiding inside a conch shell or perhaps a giant bamboo shoot. In the center of its forehead, a Rinne Sharingan glowed ominously, while below it, a massive mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth gaped open. Obito leapt onto the 10 Tails' head. Well, what passed for its head? A thick tendril extended from the beast's skull, connecting to the back of Obito's neck. Black Zetsu stood slightly behind him, silent and unmoving, like an ominous statue.
A rough estimate placed the Ten-Tails' height at nearly 10 times that of Kurama. Ha 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 ha.
Feeling the immense power coursing through him, Obito ripped off his mask and laughed maniacally.
Now, feel the power of the Ten-Tails. Despair. Naruto, Kushina, and the two Kuramas stood on high alert. Shisui and Itachi, both in their Susanoo, tensed for battle.
Even Minato, who had been waiting for the right moment to strike, looked grim. This was the legendary monster. According to Kurama's descriptions, the Ten-Tails could drink up oceans, split the earth, and move mountains. It will a true world-ending catastrophe. And under Sage Mode's sensory perception, Naruto felt as if he wasn't facing a mountain but an entire continent. I expected it to be big, but this is ridiculous, Minato muttered. Also in Sage Mode, a bead of sweat rolled down his temple. He took a deep breath. No matter what, they couldn't afford to give up. He quickly locked onto the Ten-Tails' Rinne Sharingan and the tendril connecting it to Obito. If the beast had a weakness, it had to be one of those two. Seeing everyone's wary expressions, Obito smirked in satisfaction. With a commanding wave of his hand, he ordered the Ten-Tails to attack. Everyone tensed, ready to react. 10 seconds passed. The Ten-Tails didn't move. Naruto and the others exchanged confused glances. Obito's smirk stiffened. Did I give the order wrong? Even Black Zetsu looked bewildered. Don't tell me it's malfunctioning at a crucial moment? Ha ha. Obito pressed his fingers into a seal, his Rinnegan flaring as he poured chakra into the connection, commanding the Ten-Tails again.
This time, the massive beast finally reacted. Its legs tensed, lifting its colossal body slightly off the ground before it began charging forward with thunderous steps. Obito's lips curled upward. That was just a delay. The Ten-Tails must not have fully awakened before. But now, everything is under control. As the rampaging Ten-Tails approached, Shisui and Itachi braced their Susanoo. Naruto and Kushina's Kuramas readied themselves. Kakashi and Sasuke flanked from behind, while Minato stood prepared to intervene at any moment. The Ten-Tails stormed forward, its monstrous presence filling the battlefield. Obito laughed triumphantly, and even Black Zetsu's expression showed anticipation. Then, out of nowhere, it tripped. Its massive foot landed awkwardly, causing its enormous body to lurch forward. Its colossal face smashed into the ground with an earth-shattering crash, creating a crater of unknown depth. The Ten-Tails behind it went limp, sprawling uselessly over the ground. Obito. Black Zetsu. Everyone else, did it just trip? Naruto stared blankly. Since when does the Ten-Tails have this kind of quirk? Big Fox, is this some kind of weird habit of yours too? He was suddenly reminded of Kurama's tiny clone that roamed around Konoha, using its cuteness to freeload meals. Kurama subconsciously nodded before roaring in denial, of course not. I don't do cute. Shisui, whose eyes were the sharpest, spoke up. Its legs, something's off. The chakra distribution is uneven, some parts look underdeveloped. It took him a moment to find the right words. What the hell is going on? Obito shouted in frustration at Black Zetsu. He had been moments away from showing off, only for the Ten-Tails to faceplant. Black Zetsu shrugged. I'm not sure. Maybe its chakra is imbalanced, or maybe you're struggling to control it because you only have one Rinnegan. As they spoke, the Ten-Tails struggled to its feet. It shook its head in confusion as if trying to process what had just happened. Technically, the Ten-Tails was an entity of nature, akin to the land, the ocean, and the sky. It wasn't supposed to have emotions. Yet in the depths of its Rinne Sharingan, there was unmistakable confusion. A loud heartbeat echoed from within its body. A massive bulge swelled on its back before bursting open, revealing a feline head. Upon closer inspection, it was Matatabi, the Two-Tails. 3 more heartbeats followed. The Ten-Tails' back bulged again, sprouting 3 more heads: Son Goku, Kokuo, and Gyuki, the 4-Tails, 5-Tails, and 8-Tails. At the same time, the Ten-Tails' expression twisted in pain.
It roared, trying to force the emerging tailed beasts back in, but they struggled fiercely, attempting to break free.
Naruto immediately understood. The Ten-Tails body contained only 4 complete tailed beasts while the others were merely reconstructed from chakra. The imbalance was destabilizing it.
This meant, things were about to turn into one intense game of tug-of-war.
Chapter 342, 343. Crazy Tuesday. 1111 words.
Obito refused Naruto's invitation to a tug-of-war match and curled up into a ball instead. Faced with the rampant energy turmoil inside the Ten-Tails, as the tailed beast's chakra attempted to escape, Obito came to trust Black Setsu's judgment. It had to be due to an imbalance of power. With only one Rinnegan and the Ten-Tails as his backup, he couldn't suppress the beast completely. As for the other Rinnegan, Obito figured that having both would be too much for him to handle. He had hidden it away, and there was no time to retrieve it now. So, he decided to gamble on himself absorbing the Ten-Tails and relying on his own body and willpower to suppress it. His plan was simple: seize the most crucial piece, the Nine-Tails, to stabilize his power as quickly as possible. Then, if necessary, he'd collect the remaining tailed beasts to complete his transformation. He might look like a coward curled up into a ball now, but once he emerged, the entire shinobi world would be in the palm of his hand. In this form, only Sage Jutsu and powerful Taijutsu will be effective against him, Naruto muttered, canceling his full-tailed beast transformation. He looked up at the white shell floating midair. It was likely made of the same material as a Ten-Tails Jinchuriki's body, rendering conventional ninjutsu ineffective.
How about a father-son team-up? Minato suggested, stepping beside Naruto and extending an invitation to roll some spheres. Sounds good, let's serve him a feast.
Naruto raised his hands above his head, forming a Rasengan even larger than himself and infusing it with Sage Chakra.
I'll add Wind Release.
Minato lifted his hand, feeding Wind Chakra into the spiraling sphere. In the distance, Sasuke, watching closely with his Sharingan, read Naruto's lip movements.
Sage Jutsu, huh? If that's the case, I should be able to help too. No way I'm letting Naruto outpace me. Sasuke sat cross-legged, for the first time absorbing natural energy without the oversight of a snake sage. Buzz 4 wind blades extended from the Rasengan, shaping it into a Raisin Shuriken. I'm joining in too.
I'll add some water release. Kushina, canceling her full-tailed beast transformation, eagerly jumped into the mix. It was just a Rasengan, after all, she was familiar with it. Raising her hand, she carefully infused water chakra. The sphere rippled like a whirlpool, its rotation subtly shifting in multiple directions before stabilizing.
In that case, I'll add some chakra from the dragon vein. Who knows? It might have some special effect. Naruto poured in yet another ingredient, turning the sphere's color toward a deep purple. With so many different elements, can you still control it? Kushina asked. In this state? Easy.
Naruto pointed to his cross-shaped pupils. Sage mode combined with Nine-Tails chakra mode had enhanced his chakra control significantly. In that case, I'll add some lightning and fire release, Minato said, raising his other hand. Sparks and flames intertwined within the Rasengan.
Kushina, not to be outdone, added, then I'll contribute to Earth Release.
But I haven't trained much with it, so I'm not too confident. Despite her words, she was a decisive person. Without hesitation, she infused Earth Chakra. A sharp crack resounded as the ground beneath Naruto's feet shattered.
The Rasengan instantly gained an overwhelming weight. We still have the tailed beast's chakra we just obtained, let's throw that in too. Kushina, on a roll, added the chakra of Matatabi, Son Goku, Kokuo, and Gyuki. I can't hold it anymore. It's gonna explode. Naruto panicked. Big Fox, help me out. Kushina also wore a sheepish expression. She was, after all, the one who went overboard.
Honestly, if your whole family wants to mess around, don't drag others into it, Kurama grumbled while assisting in stabilizing the nearly out-of-control Rasengan.
Minato sighed in relief and chuckled, you're not exactly others, are you? Ha! Kurama let out a snicker before throwing in a little something extra. Fine, I'll join in the fun too. Naruto noticed a shift in Rasengan's properties. Where'd you get Shikaku and Komi Ice Chakra?
Got it last time when I saved them and Suna figured I might as well extort some chakra from them.
Kurama then added a portion of his own. Alright, it's ready, attack. Wait. Minato interrupted.
I haven't thought of a name for this technique yet.
Does that even matter? Kurama roared. Can't you just defeat the enemy first? Naruto thought for a moment. What day is it today? Kushina answered, Thursday. Why? Naruto grinned. I've got the perfect name. Minato, intrigued, asked, what is it? Enough of you three. Kurama growled, irritated at being ignored. Let's do this. With Minato, Kushina, and Kurama's cooperation, Naruto hurled the colossal Rasengan with all his might. Sage Art, Chakra Family Combo, Jumbo Feast, Crazy Tuesday, Assorted Rasengan. Even Black Zetsu, hiding underground, was dumbfounded. What the hell is that name?
The overwhelming chakra was undeniable, but the name gave away nothing about the technique's actual mechanics.
The jutsu contained all 5 elemental chakras, 7-tailed beast's chakra, plus sage chakra and dragon vein chakra. The resulting assorted sphere was larger than Obito's transformation shell.
As the two clashed, the sharp wind blades, enhanced by sage jutsu, easily sliced through the shell's thin outer layer.
Obito's stunned expression was the last thing visible before the sphere engulfed him completely. But it wasn't over.
The moment the Rasengan made direct contact, Obito was struck by an overwhelming storm of sensations: water's crushing force, fire's searing heat, earth's suffocating weight, wind's razor-sharp slicing, lightning's paralyzing shocks.
The impact shattered his shell, sending him flying.
For a brief moment, he wasn't even sure his body still belonged to him. Obito made a strangled noise, his throat too paralyzed by lightning to even scream properly.
Moments later, the Rasengan detonated in midair.
A massive explosion of light rippled through the sky, shifting from white to red, then orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Even fireworks weren't this spectacular.
In fact, it was so dazzling that if the legendary Uchiha Dancing King were here, he might have broken into dance on the spot.
As the radiance faded, Obito's bloodied, tattered figure emerged, his clothes in shreds, his body battered beyond recognition. The attack had clearly been effective, but strangely, Obito didn't fall to the ground. Instead, he remained suspended midair, with crystalline fragments flaking off him like feathers or scales. Looking closer, the falling shards were actually shedding like a cocoon.
A new layer of white flesh emerged underneath. The Ten-Tails Jinchuriki was born.
If only he wasn't hanging limply in the air, with his limbs dangling downward like a jellyfish, maybe he would have looked intimidating.
Chapter 344. Sasuke learns Sage Mode. 1098 words.
Hiding underground, Black Zetsu watched the jellyfish floating in the sky, feeling a deep sense of unease.
Did Obito succeed? Minato and the others had the same question.
Only Naruto reacted immediately, forming a Sage Art, Wind Release Rasen Shuriken at top speed and hurling it straight at Obito. When in doubt, always follow up with another attack. Best case scenario, it finishes him off for good.
However, Naruto was disappointed.
A small black sphere morphed into a thin shield, blocking the attack with ease.
Sage Art, Lightning Release, Thunder Serpent.
With a confident voice, a purple lightning bolt, shaped like a massive serpent, shot toward Obito's back, jaws wide open to swallow him whole. Naruto tilted his head and saw Sasuke standing there, exuding an aura of smug confidence, as if declaring to the world, the heavens are first, Itachi is second, and I am third.
But more than his attitude, Sasuke's appearance had changed significantly.
The once delicate features of his lower face were now partially covered by white serpent scales. His eyes had transformed into slit-pupiled snake-like irises, with a ring of purple markings extending from his eye sockets to his nose, similar to Itachi's facial lines. 2 small horns protruded from his forehead, slightly disrupting his hairstyle.
Wait a minute, Sasuke learned Sage Mode. Naruto finally understood why Sasuke had been acting so mysteriously lately. He had secretly signed up for extra lessons. Judging by his appearance, though, his mastery wasn't perfect.
He looked somewhat like Kabuto in his Sage mode. No way, Naruto thought in horror. This is my childhood friend, please don't tell me he's about to become that unhinged. His gaze flicked to Sasuke's waist, no extra features. Phew, thank the Sage of Six Paths.
He's still normal.
Even Kakashi was smiling proudly. Even though I had nothing to do with it, I now have 2 Sage students.
The chances of stopping Obito just got higher. Everyone else was equally stunned.
Itachi, who had noticed Sasuke's strange schedule, was the most pleased. His Otudo's hard work had finally paid off.
Sasuke, despite his serious expression, was secretly observing their reactions with his Sage Mode sensory abilities and Sharingan.
He was clearly satisfied with their surprise, except for Naruto's weirdly complicated expression, which he couldn't quite read.
What is this idiot thinking now?
The purple lightning faded, revealing Obito once again curled up into a protective sphere, this time, a black one. The truth-seeking orbs had reshaped into a shell, shielding him at the center. Slowly, the shell reverted to a sphere before parting to reveal his transformed figure. Obito now stood tall, his white hair flowing down his back. A single large horn and a smaller one protruded from his forehead. His left eye bore the Rinnegan, while his right eye remained a Sharingan. A white cloak draped over him, and behind him, 9 truth-seeking orbs floated in perfect formation.
His expression was cold and unreadable. So, it's finally complete?
Obito muttered, raising his hand and flexing his fingers, as if testing his newfound power. Sasuke, seeing that his attack had been ineffective, refused to accept it.
He quickly formed seals for another jutsu, only to be cut off by a devastating kick to the gut. Ugh! Sasuke was sent flying.
If not for the enhanced vitality of Sage Mode, he might have coughed up blood from the impact. As he struggled to his feet, he saw a truth-seeking orb hurtling toward his head. His body crackled with lightning as he tried to dodge.
Damn, too fast. At the last second, Naruto appeared beside him, yanking him away just before impact. Landing safely, Naruto shook his hand with a wince. TCH, you're all static electricity. Sasuke sighed in relief before snapping back, shut up. Witnessing Sasuke's close call, Itachi made his move. Yasaka Magatama. But Obito didn't even attempt to block. Instead, he casually sidestepped before vanishing, reappearing right in front of Itachi's Susanoo.
A truth-seeking orb morphed into a staff and slammed downward.
Itachi raised the Yata mirror in defense. A dull thud echoed as the small staff collided with the massive divine shield. Yet, the impact alone forced Itachi's Susanoo to stagger backward, cracks forming on the Yata mirror.
Shursui seized the opening, lunging forward with his green Susanoo's spiraling sword, which rotated like a drill, its lethal power apparent. Obito glanced at him and sent a small truth-seeking orb to block the sword's tip. The two forces clashed in a deadlock. Shursui's eyes widened. He gritted his teeth, pushing his blade forward with all his might. It's useless. Obito, sounding almost bored, raised his left hand and directed his palm toward the truth-seeking orb, increasing its pressure. As the orb pushed forward, Shursui's sword began to fracture. Soon, the blade shattered completely. Shursui clutched his eye in pain.
Shursui. Itachi took a step forward. His red Susanoo swung its sword down at Obito. Obito blocked the Totsuka blade with his staff as if it were a toothpick against a broadsword, an absurdly mismatched sight. Shursui's weapon fully shattered, and a truth-seeking orb shot toward his head. At the same time, Obito deflected Itachi's Totsuka blade and lunged toward the Susanoo's cockpit. With a grunt, Itachi's Susanoo shattered, and he plummeted to the ground. Before Obito could pursue, 4 golden chains shot toward him. Kushina skillfully controlled the adamantine sealing chains, weaving them into a net in an attempt to ensnare the big fish. Obito instinctively stepped back, but then noticed something was off. There should have been 5 chains. Glancing left, he spotted the missing chain looping around to his blind spot. This technique was troublesome. Truth-seeking orbs, in theory, should be unaffected by sealing jutsu, but these chains were specifically designed to suppress tailed beasts. Obito wasn't sure if they would interfere with his powers, so he didn't take any chances. At that moment, Minato saw his opening. He flicked a kunai toward Obito's right side, opposite the direction Obito was dodging. As Obito moved to evade the chains, Minato teleported behind him. Obito barely had time to register the movement when something happened. Minato's left hand caught the kunai, subtly tossing it upward without a sound, while his right hand, carrying a Sage Rasengan, drove into Obito's back. As someone who had fallen victim to this exact technique before, Obito had been wary of his backstabbing master. But he was still too late. The distinct pain of the Rasengan told him one thing. Your teacher is still your teacher. And then Minato added, I believe I've said this before, this is Flying Thunder God, Level 2. Chapter 344, 345. Near end. 1096 words. Damn it. Not again. With a boom, Obito crashed into the ground. The feeling of being hit by the same old tricks and techniques was beyond infuriating. Minato, having teleported back to his original position, didn't seem too pleased either. A Sage Art, Giant Rasengan can hurt him, but the effect isn't ideal. Even Guiding Thunder, Swift Flash might not be enough to deal a decisive blow. From his observations, the damage from the Giant Rasengan was minimal against Obito in his Ten Tails Jinchuriki form. He would likely recover within seconds. As for the impact of the fall, that was negligible. After all, no real powerhouse would die just from falling from a height, right, Kuina? Obito wasn't physically weak. What Minato's attack truly hurt was his pride. Even as the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, even after gaining the closest thing to the power of the Sage of Six Paths. Am I still unable to defeat that man? Impossible. I am the strongest now. My plan, my dream world, I will create it no matter what. Wait for me, Rin. Obito's determination reignited. He soared back into the sky, and 5 protrusions on the back of his neck each ignited into flames. You've almost exhausted all your little tricks, haven't you? I won't fall for the same attack again. This wasn't just arrogance. The 5 flames, known as Six Paths Sacred Fire or Cross-Sacrificial Flames, could be used for both offense and defense. Like the Nine Tails Chakra, they could transform into massive hands, and their destructive power was enough to shatter the 4 red Young formation used by the Konoha F4. Just as the battle was about to resume, several new figures appeared on the battlefield: Tenten, Niji, Lee, Guy, Gaara, Yagura, and Inoki. The Raikijin Killer Bee, having sustained severe injuries, had been sent to Tsunade for treatment. After returning to the battlefield, Tenten made a quick stop at the command post, where Inoichi informed them about the battle against the mastermind. Minato and his team were already facing the incomplete Ten Tails. That was all the 3 Kage needed to hear. Realizing that Minato's battle was the key to the war, they had Tenten teleport them over immediately. Guy and his team came along as well. So, this is the Ten Tails Jinchuriki? Looks troublesome, Inoki muttered, surveying the battlefield littered with destruction and then looking at Obito floating in the sky. Gaara and Yagura exchanged grim glances. Minato nodded. Right now, only Sage Jutsu and Taijutsu can hurt him. But even if we hit him, the attacks must be powerful enough, which makes things difficult. Taijutsu? Guy's ears perked up. Is it finally time for the proud blue beast to burn with the flames of youth? By the way, his face looks kind of familiar. Have I seen him before? Kakashi's tone was heavy. That's Obito. Obito? Guy tilted his head, searching his memory. He recognized the name, but for the life of him, he couldn't remember that face. Well, whatever. Let me test him out, Inoki said, floating up. He wasn't the type to just accept that his jutsu wouldn't work without trying it himself. Dust release, detachment of the primitive world technique. A blinding white light shot forward. Obito didn't even attempt to dodge. He gripped his staff and charged straight through it. Inoki's eyes widened. Dust release, a Kekei Tota that combined wind, earth, and fire far more potent than a regular Kekei Genkai, should have disintegrated anything in its path upon contact. But Obito emerged completely unscathed. This was the first time Inoki had encountered an opponent immune to dust release. And Obito was fast. At his age, Inoki knew he wouldn't be able to dodge in time. Gaara reacted instantly, controlling sand to form a defensive wall. Obito swung his staff, effortlessly dispersing the sand. That brief moment, however, was enough for Inoki to retreat. The others quickly spread out. Getting too close to a Ten-Tails Jinchuriki was a death sentence. Obito ignored them and set his sights on Kushina. He wasn't here to kill the 5 Kage. He wasn't here to wipe out the allied shinobi forces. He wasn't even here to challenge Minato. He only wanted one thing, the 9 tails. Kushina, however, remained unfazed. The 9 tails chakra cloak granted her extreme speed, allowing her to retreat rapidly while activating adamantine sealing chains. 5 golden chains shot out, their tips forming sharp spikes. Adamantine sealing chains weren't just for binding, they were also highly offensive, capable of crushing even the wood release, wooden golem technique. Granted, that had been a weaker version of the jutsu used by White Zetsu controlling Yamato, but still, these chains packed serious power. Obito had no intention of testing their strength firsthand. He countered with 5 truth-seeking orbs, each intercepting one of the chains. Kushina poured chakra into the chains, but after a brief struggle, the truth-seeking orbs, formed from yin-yang release, disintegrated them. Then, a fireball shot toward Obito. Unconcerned, he continued forward. A mere fire release. What could it possibly? Smack! Pain flared across his face. Obito, momentarily stunned, barely had time to react before dozens, then hundreds of fireballs rained down on him like a torrential storm, striking him from every direction. His entire body trembled under the relentless barrage. For a moment, he was too stunned to react. Had someone just shouted "Morning Peacock"? Is this some new fire release technique? Ninjutsu shouldn't be able to hurt me. Looking up, he saw a red-faced Might Guy hovering in the air. The green jumpsuit and bowl-cut haircut triggered unpleasant memories, but this wasn't the time for nostalgia. Activating his Sharingan, Obito closely examined Guy's chakra and realized. This isn't ninjutsu. This is pure taijutsu. He hadn't been burned, the damage came from the sheer impact behind each strike. This man had reached a point where he could harm a god-tier being through raw physical force alone. Obito summoned a truth-seeking orb, shaping it into a thin barrier to block the assault. Guy continued his onslaught, but after a few dozen more punches, he realized the barrier wasn't breaking. He landed gracefully, crossing his arms. As expected, he's strong. The 6th gate won't be enough. Obito adjusted his posture, shaking off the dust. He was still in one piece, but the fact that Guy had injured him at all was unsettling. He briefly considered whether to kick Guy in the face or continue his pursuit of Kushina. Guy, however, had already made up his mind. If 6 gates weren't enough. 8 gates released formation, 7th gate, Gate of Wonder. Open. Chapter 345, 346. The one with the strongest survival instinct. 1,161 words. If this were a game, then Obito would be that rookie player with high-end gear and top-tier equipment, yet still playing like a total noob. Meanwhile, Guy was the expert player using standard gear but pulling off insane high-skill maneuvers with sheer mechanical prowess. Logically speaking, with a Mangekyo Sharingan, a Rinnegan, and the absurdly enhanced body of a Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, Obito should have been able to perceive Guy's movements and react accordingly. He should have been able to dodge or counterattack. But in reality? Guy, having opened the 7th gate, smashed a fist into Obito's face, followed it up with a kick to his chest, and then before Obito could recover, finished with Hiradora, Daytime Tiger. Back when Madara became a Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, even Guy's 7th gate was completely ineffective against him. Not even Hiradora could scratch him. Only after opening the 8th gate did Guy reach the level where he could stand toe-to-toe with Madara. But Obito? Who knew if it was due to the Ten-Tails' incomplete development or if he was just plain bad at this, but the white tiger-shaped shockwave enveloped his entire body, forcing its pressure onto him. Obito struggled against the overwhelming force, barely managing to raise an arm to cover his mouth. His ribs were probably cracked. He wanted to cough up blood, but he really didn't want to risk coughing up a tailed beast instead. That taijutsu, that strength. Shocked, Obito was sent hurtling back hundreds of meters by Hiradora. Guy exited his seventh gate, breathing heavily. Some of the more perceptive shinobi had managed to track Guy's movements. Kakashi, having known Guy for years, wasn't surprised. But for Shisui, Itachi, and Sasuke, the sheer speed and power Guy displayed were horrifying. That bowl-cut freak is a monster. Itachi had seen Hiradora in action before when Guy used it to defeat Kisame, but Kisame was nothing compared to this. Obito was a ten-tails Jinchuriki, practically a god-tier entity. Was taijutsu really this powerful? Sasuke, meanwhile, felt ashamed. He remembered Gen, Daiki and Jiro Uchiha clansmen who had also mastered powerful taijutsu. If they combined that strength with their Sharingan, they might have been even more formidable than Guy. Sasuke had once looked down on them, thinking they were an embarrassment. But now, he realized he had been ignorant. Naruto, Minato, and Kushina couldn't visually track Guy's movements, but through Sage Mode, they felt everything. Even so, they could tell even this wasn't enough to take Obito down. Tenten, Lee, and Neji had a newfound appreciation for their teacher. Lee, in particular, was bursting with excitement. This confirmed that taijutsu could rival even godlike beings. If he trained hard enough, he could surpass Guy-sensei. Neji, on the other hand, felt a cold sweat trickle down his back. He immediately decided that he would never spar with Lee again. He had been getting an ominous feeling lately, and ninja's instincts were rarely wrong. He had assumed it was due to the war, but now, he had a sinking feeling that he'd end up dying in a sparring match against a gate-activated Lee. Among the most shocked was Yagura. All he had seen was a burst of blue steam, then bam, Obito was flying through the air. Gaara and Inoki, having witnessed Guy's power earlier, weren't as surprised. But Yagura? Today, he finally understood how the previous generation of the 7 ninja swordsmen had been completely wiped out. Guy steadied his breath, eyes firm. The 7th gate isn't enough. Today might be the day the Blue Beast disappears. No. Minato cut him off before he could finish. He knew exactly what Guy was thinking, sacrificing himself to open the 8th gate. Yes, it would give him unimaginable power. Yes, it might be enough to take Obito down. But Minato wouldn't allow it. Guy, I understand your resolve, Minato said. But I still have one last ultimate technique I haven't used yet. And even if someone must risk their life, he paused, flashing a familiar wide grin, raising his thumb just like Guy always did. As Hokage, I should be the first one to do so. Guy froze. He had always thought that only his father could say something like that. That only his students would walk the same ninja path as him. But now, did this count as recognition from the Hokage? Inoki floated over beside Minato. He's right. Sacrificing ourselves to protect the village, that's our duty as Kage. And now, to protect the entire shinobi world, it should be us leading the charge. Gaara and Yagura stepped forward as well, standing beside Minato. As the group was preparing their next move, a figure suddenly emerged from underground, an IWA shinobi, just 3 or 4 meters away from the Kage. Are you all already thinking about a final battle? The figure spoke. Why not consider working with me instead? Inoki's eyes narrowed. Scorch release. Is that you, Jiro? Are you an Edo Tensei summon? He immediately guessed what was going on. Orochimaru. The others tensed. Kushina and Naruto instinctively prepared their chains, ready to seal him. Orochimaru, standing in Jiro's reanimated body, smirked. Yes, it's me. Minato's gaze sharpened. What are you after? Obviously, I'm here to propose a temporary alliance to stop that lunatic, Orochimaru said smoothly. He wasn't lying. Having observed the battle through his Edo Tensei summons, Orochimaru had reached an undeniable conclusion: Obito might be fighting like an idiot, but his power was absolutely real. If any of the key players on Konoha's side fell, taking down Obito would become exponentially harder. More importantly, with power this overwhelming, Orochimaru was almost certain that the infinite Tsukuyomi wouldn't be as simple as Obito made it sound. He prided himself on his survival skills, but against 6 paths level power? There was no guarantee he'd be safe. What if it could directly affect souls? Orochimaru wanted to live. In terms of sheer survival instinct, he was probably the most persistent person in the entire shinobi world. And so, he had a bold idea. Anoki scoffed. An alliance, with you? You're our enemy, he continued. Your Edo Tensei has already caused us enough trouble. Why should we trust you? I've already shown some sincerity, Orochimaru pointed out. As we speak, my Edo Tensei forces are helping the allied shinobi forces wipe out the White Setsu army. You should already know this. The Kage exchanged glances. It was true. When Anoki, Yagura, and Gaara had stopped by the command post, they had already been informed that Orochimaru's Edo Tensei summons were assisting in battle. Inoichi had also just relayed the same information to Minato via telepathy. Orochimaru continued, besides if Obito's plan succeeds, I die too. You know me, 4th Hokage, I seek immortality. Achieving dreams by dreaming? That's just pathetic. Minato hesitated for a moment. Orochimaru did have a point. Finally, he asked, then how exactly do you plan to cooperate with us? Chapter 346, 347. When it comes to exploiting bugs, Orochimaru is serious. 1075 words. When discussing cooperation with Orochimaru, the first thought was naturally Edo Tensei summoning the past Hokage to gang up on Obito. However, only Hashirama, with his sage jutsu, could reliably injure him. Tobirama's flying thunder god might help, but for the others? Their effectiveness was questionable at best. So everyone stared at Orochimaru, wondering what exactly he had planned. That man is strong because he possesses power on a level far beyond ours, Orochimaru began. Although those who have mastered sage jutsu can harm him, it's still extremely difficult. What if we had the same level of power as him? As he spoke, he licked his lips in anticipation, only to remember that, in this body, he didn't have his usual flexible tongue. Anoki immediately caught on. You mean, create another Ten-Tails Jinchuriki? That's impossible. Why would it be? Orochimaru replied smoothly. A Ten-Tails Jinchuriki is merely the combination of the nine-tailed beast's chakra and the husk of the Ten-Tails, the demonic statue of the outer path. His gaze flickered between Naruto and Kushina. As for the nine-tailed beast's chakra, we already have most of it, don't we? Minato gave Kushina a nod, signaling that it was fine to share the information. Kushina answered, aside from the 3 tails and 6 tails, Naruto and I have the chakra of the other 7. Yagura, the former 3 tails Jinchuriki, responded, if Isabu was willing, I can extract some of its chakras. As for the 6 tails, I can try talking to Utakata. But even if we gather all 9, where are we supposed to find the 10 tails husk? Orochimaru smirked. That's already been taken care of. He had the Edo Tensei controlled Jiro form a seal. Summoning jutsu. Despite being reanimated, and therefore lacking blood, Jiro was still able to perform the summoning. Naruto didn't quite understand the mechanics of it, but he had long since given up trying to make sense of Orochimaru's bugs. 2 small snakes, less than a meter long, appeared. Each one spat out a glass container far larger than their own bodies before vanishing. Naruto squinted. Is that demonic statues of the outer path? Inside the containers were 2 miniature versions of the statue, standing just over a foot tall. The entire battlefield fell silent. Everyone was stunned. Had Orochimaru actually created demonic statues? Orochimaru, clearly enjoying their reactions, took his time explaining. The process required 2 primary materials. The first was actual shavings from the real demonic statue harvested directly from its foot. The second was the shell fragments and shed scales left behind during Obito's transformation into the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, materials that closely resembled the Ten-Tails body. For additional components, Orochimaru extracted special substances from White Setsu and Hashirama's cells during his research.
Hashirama's cells, he discovered, possessed an innate ability to harness sage jutsu, even when devoid of consciousness or a soul, proof that the titled god of shinobi was no exaggeration. White Zetsu, meanwhile, had originated from humans who had been trapped in the infinite Tsukuyomi in ancient times, intimately tied to the god tree and, by extension, the Ten Tails. For years, Orochimaru had focused on developing the Kyora technique, obtained from Hirako, and refining body regeneration techniques, from Shino of the Sky Ninja.
By combining all of these, Hashirama's unparalleled life force, White Zetsu's connection to the Ten Tails, and his own vast knowledge of biological modification, Orochimaru had successfully engineered 2 miniaturized demonic statues.
This, he declared, was his greatest masterpiece. If he weren't so concerned about self-preservation, he would have loved to test his living corpse reincarnation technique on them. Orochimaru spoke with enthusiasm. This was, after all, his life's work.
And his audience? They were some of the most powerful shinobi in the world. It gave him a certain satisfaction, much like when he had once boasted about his living corpse reincarnation to Hiruzen Sarutobi. Of course, the more excited he got, the more confused his listeners became. This was simply too absurd. Even for ninjas, this defied all logic. Finally, it was Guy who broke the silence. You used impossible materials and impossible techniques to create something that can rival the Ten Tails. Impressive, Orochimaru-san. Lee's eyes sparkled. So that's how it is. As expected of Guy-sensei, he understood immediately.
No, that's not what happened, Ten muttered, exasperated.
Niji could only shake his head in silent resignation. Still, the comedic relief did help break the tension. Minato, gathering his thoughts, finally spoke. This is an incredible feat. So if we infuse the 9-tailed beast's chakra into them, we'll have 2 Ten Tails? Orochimaru nodded. Theoretically, yes. Naruto frowned. But doesn't the Ten Tails require a Rinnegan to control? We don't have one. What if they get hijacked instead? Orochimaru chuckled. That is a risk. To prevent that, the very moment they form, they must be sealed inside a Jinchuriki. And without a Rinnegan to suppress them, the Jinchuriki will have to rely entirely on their own willpower to keep them under control. His tone grew serious. Even though these are small-scale versions of the Ten Tails, the process will be excruciating. If the host fails, they could lose their mind or worse, be completely overtaken and become a true monster. And Obito is almost fully recovered, Orochimaru added. We don't have much time. Who will become the Jinchuriki? Sasuke hesitated. He was confident in his willpower, certain that he wouldn't lose to that fraud Uchiha Obito. If he could claim such power, he might finally surpass Naruto, finally, leave his shadow behind. Minato, too, was considering the role. Not out of a desire for power, but because he refused to let anyone else take on such a dangerous burden. But before either of them could speak, let me do it. Everyone turned. It was Kurama. Before anyone could respond, both Naruto and Kushina's stomachs glowed. A moment later, 2 small foxes, formed from Kurama's chakra, materialized in front of them. Kurama explained, these aren't just clones, they're fragments of me. Though made of chakra, they exist physically and can replace a Jinchuriki. He continued, even if something goes wrong, the worst-case scenario is that I lose a split body. And with my will guiding them, there's no way they'll be overtaken by those weird abominations. Silence. And then, realization dawned. Orochimaru had proposed an unprecedented idea, sealing a tailed beast inside another being. But Kurama had just taken it a step further. Why not seal a tailed beast inside itself? A tailed beast Jinchuriki. Chapter 347, 348. Can't stay cool for more than 3 seconds. 1095 words. Kurama was absolutely serious. He didn't even need to think with his tails to know that if he hadn't spoken up, Minato definitely would have volunteered. While Kurama believed Minato might actually succeed if something did go wrong, would their family ever be the same again? Besides, no one here understood the power of the Sage of Six Paths better than Kurama himself.
He had the best chance of successfully suppressing the Ten Tails. Since Kurama had taken the initiative and was clearly confident, no one opposed the idea. Ten immediately volunteered to retrieve Utakata, the Six-Tails Jinchuriki, while Yagura extended a hand and injected the Three-Tails chakra into one of the miniature demonic statues. The next step was clear: infuse the two statues with tailed beast chakra, seal them immediately afterwards, and most importantly, keep Obito occupied in the meantime. To that end, Guy, along with Gen, Daiki, Jiro, and Kimimaro, who had been brought over by Naruto, erupted in streams of blue steam and surrounded Obito. Obito stared at the group, all dressed in similar green jumpsuits, feeling an inexplicable stinging sensation on his cheek.
Don't tell me these guys all fight like that madman too? And are those Sharingan real? My youth is burning. Our youth is endless.
Guy shouted with enthusiasm, thrilled to be fighting alongside his students again. He was the first to charge in.
Please witness our youth, Guy-sensei. ×3. Gen, Daiki, and Jiro echoed his battle cry.
Kimimaro, of course, said nothing. He clearly couldn't match their energy or
aesthetic.
Their five-man assault caught Obito off guard. Despite his power, he found himself overwhelmed at first.
But gradually, he began adapting. With his Mangekyo Sharingan and Rinnegan, Obito's visual perception allowed him to track all their movements.
As a Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, he had the reflexes and durability to keep up. Obito could afford to take a few hits, but if any of them got hit by a truth-seeking orb, they'd be in real danger. Once he got used to their rhythm, the tide slowly shifted in his favor.
Success! With 9 types of tailed beast chakra infused, the first miniature demonic statue transformed into a Ten-Tails.
But before it could even comprehend its new existence, it was met by the evil sealing trio, Minato, Kushina, and Naruto, masters of sealing arts. The poor little Ten-Tails barely opened its eyes before being slammed into a seal inside Kurama's mini-clone.
It was brutal. Even Orochimaru shivered. Damn sealing specialists, the worst.
This mini Kurama, originally known as Little Orange, was now no longer orange at all. He had turned pure white, possibly due to being a chakra construct, or maybe because the chakra composition of the mini Ten-Tails was balanced. He even skipped the usual cocoon phase. 2 small horns sprouted from his forehead, 9 tomo floated behind him, his tails remained at 9, and 9 miniature truth-seeking orbs drifted lazily at their tips. Naruto picked him up, flipping him this way and that, pinching his face.
He felt just as soft as before, though now less fluffy. Are you done playing? Little Orange gave him a sidelong glare. The familiar tone and expression eased both Minato and Kushina's nerves. This was definitely still Kurama's will. Not done, I mean this is academic research. Naruto defended, pointing at Obito. Anyway, why don't you go blast him real quick, and then we can continue playing. Blast him? I only match him in power now.
I could seriously injure him given the chance, but I still don't have enough chakra to finish him off, Little Orange grumbled.
Who would have thought he, of all beings, would one day be annoyed about not having enough chakra? Let me go. Ha! Naruto released him.
Little Orange floated behind Naruto and, under everyone's astonished gaze, began melting like ice cream under heat, transforming into a sleek white cloak draped over Naruto's shoulders. The 9 miniature orbs merged into 3 full-size truth-seeking orbs that floated behind him. Though the cloak shimmered like silk, it had the weight and gleam of metal. 9 tomo initially decorated its back, but they soon melted into a fox motif, with faint flame patterns along the hem. To Naruto, it looked suspiciously like it was modeled after Minato's Hokage cloak. And wait, it billowed even when there was no wind. One of the orbs turned into a black staff and tapped Naruto's head. Kurama's voice echoed in his mind, "Stop daydreaming and get used to your new power." Oh, right. Naruto rubbed his head, feeling the surge of strength. Wait, did I just get a major power-up? He slowly floated off the ground. The 3 truth-seeking orbs drifted into view. Naruto sized them up, then formed giant chakra hands and gently cradled 2 of them. Feels nice. Smooth and firm. Definitely yin-yang release quality. No, wait, focus.
Naruto realized he could now channel the mini Ten Tails power at will, thanks to Kurama's fragment acting as an intelligent firewall. The Ten Tails couldn't influence him at all. Amazing, Big Fox. Naruto couldn't help but praise.
And Snake Uncle too, he really made a functional demonic statue. In the sealed space, Kurama grinned smugly, satisfied with Naruto's admiration. Orochimaru, linked to the scene via remote vision, blinked, then licked his lips with a soft chuckle.
Snake Uncle? Not a bad ring to it. Is this how rogue ninjas should be treated?
Seeing the plan actually work, Minato smiled.
Alright, time to prepare the second one. Guy and the others are almost at their limit. Soon, the second white cloak was completed, this time for Minato. With both him and Naruto in the field, each wielding Flying Thunder God and 6 paths level power, their agility and synergy made them a deadly pair. Everyone realized something important.
As long as they had Kurama's approval, anyone could potentially access this level of power. The two mini Kuramas weren't just chakra avatars, they had essentially become living, breathing, legendary gear with spirit companions included. Minato flicked a kunai, spun it around his fingers, then gripped it tightly and stood beside Naruto.
Kushina looked on, pride welling in her chest.
Her son had truly grown, able to fight alongside his father as an equal.
So strong. So reliable. Father and son locked eyes. They nodded solemnly.
I'll go first, Naruto declared.
Let's call this outfit 6 Paths Celestial Robe. Wait, you were just thinking of a name. Wham! Kushina smacked both father and son on the head.
2 matching forehead lumps popped up. The two held their heads in perfect unison,
totally failing to stay cool for more than 3 seconds. Chapter 348, 349. Obito's heart is broken, literally. 1012 words. 3-sword style, demon slash. Clang. Obito crossed his staff to block Naruto's 3 blades, 1 in each hand, and 1 clamped between his teeth.
All of them were black blades formed from truth-seeking orbs.
Even Zoro from next door would be jealous. Wearing the 6 Paths Celestial Robe, Naruto now possessed power on the same level as Obito.
With his own truth-seeking orbs in hand, he was finally qualified to engage Obito in direct close combat and had a real shot at wounding or even killing him. After being ganged up on by 5 taijutsu monsters, Obito had become more adept at controlling his power. Now that the 9 Tails Jinchuriki had come to him, he had no intention of letting this opportunity slip. This so-called 3-sword style looked like nothing more than wild, random slashing.
If not for Naruto's absurd reflexes, Obito would have floored him by now. Obito fended off Naruto's chaotic assault while keeping an eye on Minato, hovering behind Naruto. He couldn't afford to let his guard down, those strange father-son cloaks were clearly suspicious. If Naruto was this strong now, Minato couldn't be far behind. 3-sword style, Tiger Hunt. Naruto leapt back slightly, then charged forward with another slash. He muttered under his breath, anime lied, how the heck is anyone supposed to talk clearly with a sword in their mouth? Obito's taijutsu was roughly on par with Kakashi's, but with the power of the 10 Tails bolstering his speed and strength, he was well beyond normal. Naruto considered his own taijutsu comparable to Kakashi's, and although he only had mini 10 Tails, he also had Kurama and Sage Mode. So, rounding up, they were probably evenly matched? And so, Naruto continued his reckless barrage using what could generously be called the Wild Hurricane Blade style, or more accurately, Black Blade Whack-A-Mole. Thanks to their similar power levels, both wielding truth-seeking orbs and fighting in close quarters, neither could gain the upper hand. Then Obito suddenly released his truth-seeking orbs to push Naruto back, attempting to disengage and overwhelm him with raw power. That's when Minato made his move. He hurled a special kunai toward Obito. Empowered by the mini 10 Tails, Minato's strength had skyrocketed, and the kunai flew even faster than before. But Obito's reflexes were nothing to scoff at. He flicked a truth-seeking orb to intercept the kunai midair, several meters away. Even if your power's increased, it's still the same old trick. I won't fall for it again, Obito said, though his tone held a hint of unease. The truth-seeking orb shattered the kunai's tip on impact, rendering it useless as it dropped.
But Minato had placed a seal on the kunai's hilt, which remained intact. While Obito turned his attention away, a second kunai emerged from the handle like it had sprouted and launched itself toward him.
It was only a few meters away.
At such a distance and speed, it closed in instantly.
Before Obito could react, stab. A jet-black sword pierced through his chest.
What he saw next was a flash of golden hair and a fluttering white cloak.
Naruto could tell right away it was that ridiculously ornate sword that his dad once asked Haku to make for fun.
It looked a lot like Frostmourne from a game he played. Flying Thunder God, 3rd stage / Minato whispered into Obito's ear, calm, not the least bit smug. This technique involved throwing a marked kunai, then launching a second from the first seal, allowing him to extend the attack's range or strike from a blind spot, similar to the Uchiha Shuriken combo tactic. With this method, the Flying Thunder God gained a 3rd stage of range and versatility. In theory, Minato could chain these launches to reach the moon. Of course, this required expert control over trajectory, timing, and awareness of the kunai's flight paths. Even for Minato, executing it perfectly in combat was incredibly difficult. This time, though, it had worked.
Gah! Obito coughed blood.
His strength was quickly fading. The sword that pierced him was formed from a truth-seeking orb. Not even a Ten-Tails Jinchuriki could fully resist its power.
A direct hit to the heart, a serious injury. He didn't die instantly only because of his immense life force.
To make matters worse, the imbalance within him flared. The chakra of the nine-tailed beast surged out of his back, forming the shapes of their heads.
Now's your cue. Naruto shouted. Got it. Kurama responded.
He entered tailed beast mode, 9 tails extending outward, each infused with the chakra of a different tailed beast, each tail forming a beastly head that bit into Obito's corresponding chakra.
Ha!
Naruto grunted as he pulled, thus beginning the 4th grade Ninja War's final round of tug-of-war. Slowly, the tailed beast's chakra began to be pulled out of Obito, his face contorting in pain.
Rah! Obito roared, yanking the sword from his chest and freeing himself from Minato's grip.
His heart was shattered, physically and emotionally, but he paid no attention to his gushing wound.
All that mattered was not losing the tailed beasts.
He was still a true Ten-Tails Jinchuriki. Naruto struggled to pull against him, and the two were caught in a deadlock. Minato raised his sword behind Obito again, but eventually lowered it, letting it revert to a truth-seeking orb. He flew to Naruto's side and summoned a massive chakra hand to assist in the tug-of-war. Naruto blinked at him but said nothing. He just focused and pulled harder.
I'm in too. Kushina joined them, fully transformed into her tailed beast form, 9 tails grabbing hold.
Yagura stepped forward.
Isabu.
Right. Isabu agreed without hesitation.
Gaara called out, Shikaku, help. Don't order me around. I was already planning to take back my chakra.
Shikaku huffed, but complied. Utakata remained silent, but his presence beside Han suggested the 6 tails was also in.
Is this a tug of war? I'm in too. Fu burst onto the scene.
Tenten had brought her in, knowing they'd need every Jinchuriki.
With all the allied Jinchuriki united, they pulled as one. Obito, wounded and alone, struggled in vain. The scales of victory began to tip. Chapter 349, 350. Black Zetsu, must survive. 1,166 words. It's coming out. With a unified shout from the allied shinobi forces, all 9-tailed beast chakras were successfully extracted. The 2 tails, 4 tails, 5 tails, and 8 tails materialized and fell to the ground in their original forms. The remaining tailed beast's chakra was reabsorbed by their respective hosts. Thank you, the tailed beasts expressed their heartfelt gratitude to everyone. Obito coughed up another mouthful of blood and plummeted from the sky. The white from his body faded, and all the traits granted by the 10 tails power vanished. Why are you stopping me? All I wanted
was to create a world without war or darkness. So pitiful, Obito.
A mass of black goo began slithering over his body, wrapping around him like venomous armor. What are you doing? Obito's eyes widened as he realized his body was no longer responding.
His hands began forming the seals for the Rinne rebirth technique against his will.
Obviously, I'm reviving Madara. I told you to do it ages ago. You turned a golden opportunity into a disaster. Wait. It's not over yet. I haven't given up, not for Rin. Obito struggled to resist Black Setsu's control.
Using Rinne rebirth meant death.
He didn't want to die so pointlessly. No, your role is finished. As for Rin? That was a lie from the very beginning.
Black Setsu's tone grew gleeful as he shattered Obito's will with words.
Did you say? Obito's eyes widened in disbelief. That girl Rin?
She was nothing more than a pawn to stir up the darkness in your heart.
Black Setsu pressed on, sensing Obito's resistance weakening, and began revealing the truth behind the past.
He explained how, during one of Minato's missions, he manipulated events so that Kakashi and Rin would be sent on a dangerous assignment. How he had missed Shinobi seal the Three Tails into Rin and arranged for her to be hunted down. Rin, fearing the damage the Three Tails could bring to the village, and bound by a sealing jutsu that prevented her from harming herself, had no choice but to impale herself on Kakashi's Chidori. There was, of course, a glaring flaw in this plan. Kushina should have still been in the village at the time. Had Rin returned safely, Konoha might have welcomed another Jinchuriki. But perhaps Rin never realized just how capable her mentor's wife truly was. Obito was shattered by the truth. All his years of effort, plotting, and conviction had been based on a lie. He had been serving the very enemy who had orchestrated his suffering. No need for that look. Once the plan succeeds, you'll still live in that ideal world. Rin will be revived, and you'll live happily ever after. Seeing his words work, Black Setsu kept pushing. Right now, our only hope is to revive Madara. Come on, help me finish this. While Black Setsu tried to sweet-talk Obito, Naruto wasted no time. He had Kushina lead a crash course for Gaara, Yagura, and Inoki on one specific technique, for Red Yang formation. They had a once-in-a-millennium shot at sealing this guy. If they let him slip away now, who knew when they'd get another chance? As for whether Madara would revive? That was a minor issue. Naruto had already used shadow clones to send off the tailed beasts and Jinchuriki to different locations for safety. Even if Madara showed up now, what could he do? Get beaten up? With his Six Paths cloak, Naruto was confident he could make the newly revived Madara break into a dance battle for 5 minutes straight without retaliation. Obito had been bullied so badly that he didn't even have time to plant the god tree. Was Black Setsu going to drag Madara to the moon or something? For Red Yang formation. ×4. Kushina, the Kazekage, Mizukage, and Tsuchikage formed the barrier together. For translucent red walls rose, sealing the area. Everyone else had already evacuated. Only Minato, Naruto, Obito, and Black Setsu remained inside. Meanwhile, seeing the barrier form, Black Setsu panicked. This is our last chance. Obito's expression wavered. After a moment, he muttered, I understand. Relieved that Obito was cooperating, Black Setsu urged him along, eager to finish the technique before Obito died. Outer Path, Samsara of Heavenly Life Technique. A surge of invisible energy burst forth, channeled through the Rinnegan. In an instant, Obito's hair turned gray, and his already weakened body became frail and hollow. Black Setsu clung tightly to Obito. He didn't dare leave his host's body, not with Minato and Naruto staring them down like hawks. Naruto transformed a truth-seeking orb into a butcher's blade and held it against Obito's neck. Minato had told him not to kill yet, but he was seriously considering whether he could slice Black Setsu off like peeling a fruit. Black Setsu could feel the yin-yang release energy vibrating through the blade. He didn't dare move. These guys had so much chakra he desperately hoped Madara would hurry. Looking at Obito's pitiful state, Minato's gaze turned complex. Even now, are you still clinging to your ideals? Sensei. Obito smiled weakly. Even now, you're trying to change my mind? Minato was momentarily surprised by his tone, then smiled. Of course.
Didn't you just call me your teacher? Did I? Obito stared blankly at the sky. All this time, I've been someone else's pawn. Even after gaining all this power, I was still a fool being used. I've only just now begun to make up for my sins. Black Zetsu suddenly sensed something was off. What did you do? Ha, cough. Obito laughed bitterly. You saw it. I used Rinne Rebirth. But I didn't revive Madara, I brought back all the people who died in this war. What? Why would you do that? Black Zetsu exploded with rage. This idiot. What's wrong with his head? You've been lying to me from the start. Rin was a lie. So why not the infinite Tsukuyomi? Even as the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, I couldn't birth a will like yours. Maybe you even fooled Madara too. Obito no longer had any faith in Black Zetsu. Even if I die, I won't let the one who killed Rin get what he wants. You bastard. Black Zetsu screamed internally. I waited 1,000 years for this. It's all ruined. He wanted to strangle Obito, but he didn't dare. He knew Minato and Naruto hadn't finished him off yet because he was still fused with Obito. Once Obito died, he was sure they'd kill him instantly. But Obito wouldn't last much longer after using Rinne Rebirth. Black Zetsu had to escape. If he could just stay alive, he'd find a way to save Mother. Even if it took centuries more. Having made up his mind, Black Zetsu launched himself from Obito's body at lightning speed and burrowed underground. The barrier surrounded them, and escape might be impossible, but underground was his only chance. Black Zetsu. I must survive. Chapter 351. The war is over. 1052 words. A thin black disc rose from underground, lifting a clump of soil and a very dazed-looking Black Zetsu. Naruto, of course, had anticipated this. He knew exactly what kind of escape artist he was dealing with. Theoretically, the 4-red Yang formation barrier couldn't be bypassed by digging underground. But if Black Zetsu started tunneling, dragging him back out of the dirt would be a pain, so Naruto had hidden a truth-seeking orb beneath Obito in advance. Looking at the slimy blob of goo, Naruto flipped his palm upward and curled his fingers into a claw, birdcage. From the edge of the disc, black lines shot upward and arched inward, forming a dome-shaped cage. Panicking, Black Zetsu tried to ooze through the gaps between the lines. Naruto raised an eyebrow. This guy clearly didn't get the message. So he sealed the openings completely, turning the birdcage into a dice cup. Muffled curses echoed from within. Naruto dug at his ear. For a 1,000-year-old creature, your swearing vocabulary is disappointingly basic. Being uneducated really is terrifying. How do we deal with him? Naruto pointed at Obito, not bothering to hide his disgust. Obito used that resurrection jutsu. He won't last much longer, Minato said heavily. As his teacher, he should be glad Obito had repented. But knowing he was about to die, it was hard to feel happy about anything. And from a Hokage's perspective, after what Obito had done to Konoha, Minato didn't have the right to forgive him either. Naruto? Obito weakly turned his head. You really are just like Minato-sensei. About what I did. If you're going to apologize, don't bother. Naruto cut him off coldly. I'm not planning to forgive you. Even now, I still kinda wanna slice you in half. Fair enough. I deserve it. Obito's voice was tinged with genuine regret. I have no right to ask for forgiveness. Hang on a little longer, Naruto said. There's someone you need to see. He summoned Kakashi and handed him off to Obito, then grabbed the dice cup containing Black Zetsu and walked away. You two talk. I'm gonna go dissect this thing. Mom, we're done here. Naruto waved to Kushina. The red barrier dissipated. Kushina jogged over, curious about the dice cup that still echoed with Black Zetsu's cursing. What's the situation? Pretty much handled, Naruto said. And Obito? Still alive. If you want to speak to him, better do it now. I see. Kushina looked a little down but still walked toward Obito slowly, hesitating as she went. Naruto didn't follow. Instead, he teleported Gaara, Yagura, and Inoki back to headquarters. A few minutes later, a message echoed across the battlefield through Inoichi's telepathic network. To all units, the enemy leader has been defeated by the Hokage. Begin cleanup operations immediately. Repeat, the enemy leader has been defeated by the Hokage. Begin cleanup operations. The moment the ninja understood the message, cheers erupted across every battlefield. Commander Sama is so strong. That's our Hokage. Fueled by this morale boost, even exhausted shinobi found their second wind. The army's collective spirit surged like wildfire. Commanders across various fronts seized the moment to launch final offensives. Swords flashed. Ninjutsu roared. The White Zetsu army fell back under the tide of the allied shinobi forces. Few noticed the green motes of light floating through the sky until fallen comrades began to stir. Even those who had died were standing back up again. But the most incredible scene unfolded in the rear medical camps. Dozens of shinobi lay in rows, some beyond saving, others have died in the chaos. There had never been enough top-level medics. Even Tsunade and Sakura had worked non-stop, but it wasn't enough. The corpses had been carefully stored, ready to be sent home. Now, shimmering green lights fell like a meteor shower from the sky. And one by one, the dead began to sit up. Some were overwhelmed with joy. Others embraced their comrades, crying tears of disbelief. Sakura, just exiting a surgery tent, looked around in awe. Tsunade-sensei, what's happening? Listening to the joyful shouts, Tsunade smiled faintly. Looks like some kind of resurrection technique. Seems Minato didn't just defeat the enemy. So that means... Yes. The war is finally over. Are you right, Kakashi-sensei? When Naruto found Kakashi again, the older man's eyes were red. Saying goodbye to a longtime friend was never easy, and Naruto didn't know how to comfort him. I'm fine. Kakashi handed Naruto a scroll. Obito left this for you. For me? Naruto took the scroll, puzzled. It contains the other Rinnegan's location, Kakashi said after composing himself. He hid it somewhere safe. The Rinnegan? Naruto paused. What the heck do I need that for? I'm not swapping out my eyes. That thing belonged to Uchiha Madara. Just looking at it gives me the creeps. Take it anyway. It's better than letting it fall into the wrong hands. Naruto nodded and tucked the scroll away. He had an idea in mind for it. Send me back to Konoha, Kakashi said. Jiraiya-sensei said he'd release his new book the day the war ended. I want to be first in line. Naruto glanced at his blank expression inside, teleporting him near the memorial stone. He clearly wasn't in the mood to read, but maybe he just needed time alone. Naruto then sent Guy over to the nearby training field. If anyone could cheer Kakashi up, it was him. Obito was dead. Black Zetsu was captured. The war's outcome was no longer in question. By noon the next day, the shinobi forces had gathered again at the same place they had assembled when the war began. The 5 Kage stood on the high platform, with the 4 supporting Kage flanking Minato. Minato stepped forward, and the murmurs in the crowd gradually quieted, then completely stopped. Everyone looked up at him. This was the man who had united the allied shinobi forces. The man who defeated the enemy's leader. The man who had brought this war to its conclusion. Minato raised his voice. Thanks to your efforts. This war is our victory. The war is over. His voice rang across the plaza. The 4 Kage smiled first. Then came a beat of silence. And then... Yeah. Chapter 351, 352. The Grand Finale. 2077 words. That very day, the allied shinobi forces held a grand celebration right where the final battle had taken place. All food, drinks, supplies, and utensils were provided jointly by the 5 great nations.
Naruto's clones were dispatched across the world to handle transport. Along the way, Naruto also acted as a courier, delivering handwritten letters from each Kage to their homeland's caretakers. With that, the news of victory spread like wildfire across all lands.
Ninjas feasted, sang, danced, and embraced the joy of victory.
Village affiliations no longer mattered. First came a toast, then laughter. Everyone had fought together and faced death side by side. Arm in arm, sharing stories, the bond between them was that of true comrades.
Cheers!
The 5 Kage sat together at one table, raising their cups as they discussed the future.
Notably, Gaara was drinking juice.
He might be the Kazekage, but he was still underage.
In the ninja world, it's fine for minors to kill, but drinking is off limits. Is it time to begin the plan? Yagura asked. Minato nodded. Forming a union benefits everyone, doesn't it? Indeed, Gaara agreed.
The land of wind has always been barren. We lack many resources, but we do have plenty of mineral deposits.
In the past, we feared strengthening other nations' militaries, so we withheld trade.
But if we truly unite, mutual exchange should become much easier. Unlike the fragile alliances of the past, this unity is built on real trust, added the Raikage. Anoki said, that was already agreed upon at our last meeting. The only uncertainty now is how things go with the feudal lords.
Minato smiled.
They were more than satisfied with our results.
I doubt there will be any problems. Elsewhere, in the floating city of Aincrad, a feat of Konoha's technology, the feudal lords held a more private discussion. Who would have thought Konoha had a flying city? Aincrad, was it?
Though the name is a bit strange, the feudal lord of the Land of Wind said, eyes full of envy.
Hee, I was shocked the first time I saw it too.
The 4th Hokage is truly exceptional, the Land of Fire's lord replied, hiding her smile behind a delicate fan. I was going to praise our own leaders, but compared to that young man, we still fall short, said the Land of Earth's feudal lord.
Even from the reports we just received, it's clear.
I may not understand ninjutsu, but the fact that he united the strongest ninjas from every village and earned their respect speaks volumes, the Land of Water's lord added.
He still found Yagura a bit intimidating, but even he had to admit Minato's excellence.
The Raikage's feudal lord cut to the chase, so it sounds like you're all ready to agree to the unification plan? Why not, said the Wind Country's lord.
This is a rare opportunity.
After so many wars, surely we've learned that peace is the best way to prosper.
Agreed.
In truth, the Kage had already communicated with their feudal lords beforehand. This was merely the formality. With official business settled, the conversation shifted toward more lighthearted matters. The Fire Daimyo perked up.
Since the war is over and we're safe now, why not ask them to take us on a tour in the Flying City?
The Wind Daimyo clapped his hands.
Good idea.
I've heard the hidden cloud has a turtle the size of an island.
I've never seen it either, the Lightning Daimyo admitted. Might as well take the chance.
We could even make them tourist destinations, the Fire Daimyo suggested.
Aincrad and the Turtle Island could be luxury resorts. Too sneaky, you two already have attractions. We'll need to plan something of our own. The lords quickly dispatched a message to the 5 Kage and set off on their leisurely journey. 3 years later, at the gates of Konoha, Tenten sat at a tiny booth doodling black ceiling runes on slips of paper. She lazily passed them through a small window marked with the sign, Flying Thunder Ticket Office. A dark-haired man rang the tiny bell. 1 round-trip Flying Thunder ticket from Konoha South Gate to Iwagakure West Gate. 5 passengers. 1 cart. Coming right up, Tenten said dully, speaking in a rehearsed tone. But the voice made her pause. Wait a sec. Niji? Looking up, she saw Niji standing before her. Delighted, she asked, "What are you doing here?" Niji raised a mission scroll. An escort mission, or rather, a freight assignment. Thought I'd stop by and say hello. Tenten handed over the sealing talisman the ticket and grinned. Just happened to stop by? More or less. Niji deflected her teasing and asked, "Getting bored again?" Ugh, yes.
Tenten propped her chin in her hands. Naruto's Flying Thunder bus system's been running for 2 years now.
I've been stuck doing the same job every day.
He bailed after the first few months and never came back to help.
Can't be helped. He's busy with the Move Mountains and Phil C's initiative. Once you finish training Konohamaru and the others, you'll get a break. Tenten sighed. Udon and Moegi are fine.
But Konohamaru keeps throwing firecrackers and water balloons at the third Hokage's statue using this jutsu.
Niji-san. A merchant waved, waiting to depart. Gotta go, Niji nodded. Take care. Safe travels.
Tenten waved without much enthusiasm.
Outside the gate, Niji and the merchant arrived at the teleportation circle.
5 white line zones, like parking spots, were drawn on the ground, each with a numbered seal.
Niji led the merchant's cart onto circle number 3. Injecting chakra into the talisman, the ticket lit up and Tenten's synthetic voice rang out. Travel route, Konoha South Gate to Iwagakure West Gate. 5 passengers in 1 cart. Confirm position on circle 3. Inject chakra again in 3 seconds to depart. The merchant and his staff responded with calm familiarity. Confirmed. Niji injected chakra.
The talisman shone and connected with the seal on the ground.
The formation lit up, engulfed the cart and its passengers in white light, and in the next instant, they reappeared at the Iwagakure terminal. The merchant marveled. Saves time and avoids danger. The 5 nations forming the United Shinobi Council was the best thing ever. Niji smiled.
Indeed, ever since that war, the world has changed drastically. The 5 great nations had created a permanent council, with the 4th Hokage as the chairman and the other 4 Kage as representatives. Talented officials from all over the world formed a secretariat dedicated to cooperation and development. In these 3 years, borders blurred, joint development projects bloomed, and old fears faded. People are no longer worried about hoarding resources but about lacking the manpower to harvest them. With progress like this, perhaps war would never return.
Bloodline clans were no longer hunted. Niji touched his forehead. His caged bird seal was gone, and he silently praised the 4th Hokage as a leader unlike any before. Just as they stepped away from the seal, the ground shook violently. Niji quickly restrained the startled horse and activated his Byakugan. Don't panic. A nearby Iwagakure shinobi called out. Mountain relocation operation underway. Apologies for the noise. Mountain moving, huh?
Niji and the others looked toward a floating mountain in the distance and made a mental note to check it out sometime.
10 minutes earlier, the mountain relocation site. Present were Enoki's son Kitsuchi and granddaughter Kuratsuchi, Zabuza from the mist, Kankuro from the sand, and hired freelancers Naruto and Hinata. Before them loomed a massive mountain. Several other peaks in the distance had already been sliced at their bases, surrounded by rubble and loose earth. This mountain has superior soil, Kitsuchi explained to Kankuro. Hinata's geological analysis confirms it. Minimal gravel content. Perfect for Wind Country's desert. With Lord Orochimaru's White Zetsu Type 3, you'll have a lush oasis in no time. Kankuro examined a soil sample. It's good, but the price is steep. I can't allocate that much money right now. No problem. Kitsuchi was prepared. We offer payment plans. Also, we need sand minerals for our own factories. Let's barter. We'll throw in free delivery and slicing services. Hey! Kitsuchi-asan, you're stealing my delivery business. Naruto joked. Ha, just providing honest after-sales service. My delivery speed can't match yours. In the end, Kankuro agreed. Deal. Kuratsuchi cracked her knuckles. Ready when you are. Be safe. Kitsuchi smacked her head. Hinata-san, please confirm the perimeter. Hinata activated her Byakugan. No civilians, no rare wildlife. All clear. Dust release, detachment of the primitive world technique. A thin white beam sliced the mountain's base. Rocks tumbled, rumbling as a thick slab was separated cleanly. Nice work. Now go deliver it. On it.
Kuratsuchi cast lightweight boulder jutsu, picked up the entire mountain, and flew toward the wind country. Naruto helped clean up rubble from a blast site in rain country. Using Orochimaru's specially made mechanical devices containing clone Rinnegan, he performed Chibaku Tensei to lift the debris into the sky and turn it into a massive satellite-like boulder. Just for fun, he tossed the fully sealed, brain-dead black Zetsu into the core and added hundreds of sealing formulas, combining physical and chakra-based containment.
Good luck plotting from inside that. When the mountain-sized rock was ready, he teleported it to the ocean reclamation site. Want me to send you back, Zabuza? Nah, I bought a ticket. White and I are heading to the land of snow tonight. Naruto smiled and waved as he watched him leave. 3 years had passed. The house wasn't as lively anymore. Kimimaro often went to Nadeshiko village, whispering with Shizuka about some secret plan. Haku and Zabuza traveled together, exploring the world. Karen took charge of rebuilding the Land of Grass, her first act, reforming its laws and throwing every corrupt official into forced labor. That night, she cried in Kushina's arms, and went back to work the next day full of fire. Naruto had no doubt she wasn't just venting petty revenge. Let's go, Hinata. Hinata suggested, let's stroll around the rain country. We haven't explored much. Sounds good. Under a shared umbrella, they walked slowly through rainy streets, no destination, just quiet steps, listening to raindrops patter on the canopy. Though they had known each other for years, every little brush of contact still made their hearts flutter. After a while, Hinata pointed ahead. Naruto-kun, isn't that someone familiar? Naruto spotted the woman with blue hair. He called out cautiously, Konan-ne? Konan turned from her shopping and smiled. It's you too. Out on a date? Yup, Naruto replied without hesitation. Hinata smiled softly. Why not come to my home? You helped us so much in Konoha, I'd love to return the favor. Would it be okay? Hinata asked quietly. Of course. We don't get many guests. We'd love to have you. The two exchanged a glance. Then we'd be honored. Wonderful. Konan packed up her groceries and led them home. They arrived at a humble place Konan shared with Nagato. I'm back and I brought guests. Sorry to intrude. ×2. Nagato's voice came from inside. Welcome back. It's been a while. Inside, Konan flipped over a wooden plaque on the wall, from a frog engraving to a red side with her name beneath it. Nagato and Yahiko were nearby. Across from them was Jiraiya's plaque. Noticing Hinata's curious gaze, Konan explained, Jiraiya-sensei taught us this code. Flip it to red when you're home, frog side when you leave, it means, I'll be back soon. How fun, Hinata said, examining it closely. Jiraiya and Yahiko were still on the frog side. Konan and Nagato's were red. We had to work hard cleaning this place up after coming back. No matter how messy it was, it's still our home. Yahiko's plaque had originally been red. He died in an ambush before he could flip it. Konan must have changed it during the cleanup, that must have been painful. They sat, drank tea, and talked about Nagato's recovery. The two seemed to be doing well. After a pause, Naruto looked at Nagato's closed eyes. You know. If you went to Orochimaru, he could probably clone you a new pair of eyes. Nagato smiled. These past few years without sight have allowed me to see many things. It's time I took care of Konan instead. Konan gently poured more tea for him, her expression radiant. Chapter 352, 353. The Grand Finale. 2,150 words. The next morning, Minato, Kushina, and Naruto stood at the village gates to see Jiraiya off. In truth, Jiraiya had planned to slip away quietly, but in the end, he couldn't refuse their heartfelt farewell. Are you really leaving, Jiraiya-sensei? Honestly, I should have left a long time ago. Minato, you're my proudest student. To see you come this far, it makes me incredibly happy. The great Toad Sage said you'd become an unprecedented Hokage, and he wasn't wrong. No one could have done it better.
My dream was always to travel across the ninja world. It's finally time to embark on a journey for myself, not to chase some prophecy or destiny, but just for me.
Thank you for everything you've taught me, Minato said, no longer trying to dissuade him. After all, with how things were now, Jiraiya could just buy a teleportation pass and come back anytime he wanted. Kushina asked, "Aren't you going to say goodbye to Tsunade?" Jiraiya paused, then smiled. "She's probably still sound asleep. I said my goodbyes yesterday, we drank quite a bit. This way's fine. It's better this way."
Naruto thought for a moment and said, "Pervy Sage, if you get a chance, visit Nagato and Konan.
They're doing pretty well, living in your little frog hut." "All right." Jiraiya looked deeply in the direction of the village before slinging his pack over his shoulder and striding off. "Farewell."
Man, staying in one place too long really does make it hard to leave again, he murmured once out of sight.
He slapped his cheeks, struck what he thought was a heroic pose, one hand on his hip, the other pointing to the sky, and declared, "All right. The gallant Jiraiya's new journey begins now." TCH. Still a fool after all these years, came Orochimaru's voice from nearby. "Ha?" Jiraiya blinked, caught off guard. Then Tsunade's voice followed. "Before you set off, how about a drink with some old friends?" Jiraiya looked at the two of them and broke into a grin. "Sounds great." The three sat right there on the roadside. Tsunade pulled out a sake flask and 3 cups from who knows where and poured them each a drink.
They clinked their cups and downed the sake in one gulp. Along with the alcohol, years of grudges and pain faded away, leaving only the warmth of friendship behind.
Jiraiya refilled their cups and asked, "So, what are your plans from here?"
"I'll stay in the village, consider it atonement.
And honestly, I've found some things that interest me," Orochimaru said, a glimmer in his eyes. "Science is fascinating, it feels limitless. There's so much I want to explore."
Jiraiya chuckled.
"If Sarutobi-sensei could hear you now, he'd probably be proud." Tsunade added, "Speaking of which, that orphan boy, Kabuto, keeps hanging around your lab, doesn't he?" "He's quite talented," Orochimaru replied. "He's my assistant now.
I intend to pass on everything I've learned, my jutsu, my research."
Tsunade smirked. "Anko's going to cry."
"She's not suited to follow in my footsteps," Orochimaru said simply, raising his cup and draining it.
Jiraiya turned to Tsunade. "What about you?" Tsunade glanced at him. "Making money. Paying off debts." Even Orochimaru was surprised. "Didn't you already pay them off?" "I did," she said nonchalantly. "But now that travel's easier, it's also easier to sneak off to the casinos." Jiraiya and Orochimaru clinked cups. "Figures." "Ha ha." When the sake was gone, the three stood. Jiraiya slung his pack back on. "Guess this is where we part." "Oh, by the way, Orochimaru, Tsunade and I built a grave for you in the woods nearby after you died. Someone must have flattened it, but I was gonna take you to see it." "Such a waste, huh?" "Is that so?" Orochimaru smirked. A small snake slithered from the ground and bit Jiraiya's calf before returning to Orochimaru. "Hey, what was that for?" Jiraiya cried. Orochimaru turned and waved. "That snake is venomous. You'll be dead in 10 minutes. Might as well use that grave. Don't walk away, you bastard. Give me the antidote." Jiraiya dropped to the ground, leg numb. "Ha!" Tsunade laughed. These two never changed. Jiraiya, perhaps playing it up, grabbed Tsunade's leg, eyes brimming. "Save me, Tsunade. Let go." She struggled to shake him off. 1 million Ryo. Why not just rob me? I am robbing you. Jiraiya groaned. Fine. 5 minutes later, Jiraiya was back on his feet. Alright, I'm going now. I really am leaving. Go ahead. Why are you following me? I have a creditor in that direction. Just traveling with you for a bit. Okay. You're paying for the food and lodging. Sure. And my gambling money. Got it. Let me punch you once. What? Why? My hands are itchy.
Tsunade-sama really left, Shizen sighed after finishing her work, petting Tauntaun.
Oink! Tauntaun snuggled into her arms.
Truth be told, the pig wasn't feeling safe lately. Naruto once said it hadn't grown in 3 years and maybe it was time to roast it.
Yeah, said she was off to repay debts, Sakura added, stretching.
With Tsunade gone, the medical corps was fully in their hands now, and there were plenty of patients coming from other villages.
Konoha's hospital was even planning to open branches abroad.
Shizen grumbled, funny how she's suddenly so eager to repay debts. Jiraiya-sama leaves, and she bolts too, leaving all the work to us, as usual.
Ha ha.
Sakura chuckled awkwardly. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, Shizen stopped complaining and tidied her desk.
That's it for today. Time to clock out. Yup. Sakura grabbed a small basket and followed her out.
At the hospital entrance, a silver-haired man leaned coolly against the wall, raising a hand in greeting.
Yo. Kakashi? Kakashi-sensei? Sakura looked between them and teased, wow, Shizen-senpai, someone's here just to pick you up.
Shizen gently swatted her.
Oh, hush. Aren't you off to see your Sasuke? What do you mean my Sasuke? Don't say weird things.
Shizen pointed at the basket in Sakura's hands.
Then what's that you secretly made during work hours? Careful, I might dock your pay. You're just trying to get rid of me. Sakura bolted, laughing. I'll leave you two alone.
Kakashi naturally walked alongside Shizen.
What was in the basket? Specially made soldier pills. Sakura worked hard to perfect the formula, 0 side effects. Why now? There aren't many combat missions lately. Shizen smiled. Sasuke's working at the energy company.
I heard he's trying to outperform the hidden cloud, saying, there's no way lightning release belongs only to the land of lightning. He's pushing himself too hard, and Sakura's worried. The Uchiha clan, be it with fire release or lightning release, always powers up for love.
Kakashi imagined it and sighed.
That does sound like him.
How about you? Didn't Guy challenge you to a match again today? Shizen asked, a little exasperated.
Guy was a good person, but absolutely terrible at reading the room. Sometimes when she and Kakashi were on a quiet walk, Guy would suddenly leap in with a flying kick, yelling something about the fires of youth.
Kakashi chuckled. Well, thanks to Kimimaro, we might be free from that going forward. Kimimaro? What did he do?
Oh, he lured Guy, Lee, and those 3 other hotheads, Jen, Daiki, and Jiro, away. Said he'd found some strong opponents and wanted to spar.
Shizen suddenly remembered a certain place's tradition. Don't tell me, it's not Ishiko village? Haha, Kakashi grinned mischievously. Then he pulled out 2 tickets. Killer Bee's concert. Want to check it out? Sure.
The 2 stepped onto a flying thunder god transport seal and arrived in the land of demons. As they made their way to the venue, they saw the massive crowd, shoulder to shoulder. So many people, Shizen marveled.
No wonder he's a world-famous rapper. Kakashi nodded. Yeah, never thought that guy had it in him.
I heard his hits Little Bowl Ramen and Duck, You Ugly were inspired by Naruto.
Wait, Naruto has musical talent too? Shizen glanced into the crowd and did a double take. That's Lord Fourth. Kakashi followed her gaze and waved. Minato-sensei? HM?
Kakashi, Shizen, Minato greeted them, a bottle of soy sauce in hand.
Kakashi raised an eyebrow. What are you doing? Minato smiled. Just picking up some soy sauce. Also handled that whole Morio thing while I was at it. Morio. Shizen felt the word didn't match the casual tone. That was the monster that required generations of shrine maidens to seal. Yet, for Minato, it seemed easier than grocery shopping. You two enjoy the concert. I'll be heading home. Kushina's waiting to start cooking.
Shizune was still processing as Kakashi nodded and guided her toward the venue.
Meanwhile, Minato returned home. I'm back. What took you so long? Kushina asked, still holding a ladle.
Ran into a little trouble, he said, stepping into the kitchen.
Where's Naruto?
He just left, said he predicted a meteor shower tonight and asked Hinata to watch with him.
A meteor shower? You can predict those? Who knows? Maybe Orochimaru invented something again.
Hinata wore a crimson cheongsam and waited quietly beneath the swing at the academy gate. I ended up coming too early, but watching a meteor shower together, it's so romantic.
Buzz. A white-haired, white-robed figure appeared, floating in midair. Hinata. Who are you? Hinata took a defensive stance, eyes sharp. My name is Tonari. I've come for you, princess of the Byakugan. I don't know you. No matter. You are the most suitable candidate to be my wife.
Soon the moon will fall, and Earth will be destroyed.
But together, we can rebuild and create the perfect world. Hinata's gaze turned icy. This world is already my perfect world. And I will become Naruto-kun's wife. Don't speak such nonsense. You simply lack perspective. That Naruto, he's an insect before me. I could crush him effortlessly. Come with me, it's the best future for you. So, you want to kill Naruto-kun? Hinata's aura shifted.
Her eyes gleamed with pure blue light. White chakra robes and ribbons flowed around her.
This power. Tonari faltered. This wasn't part of the script. Anyone who wants to hurt Naruto-kun is unforgivable. Golden light exploded from her palm. Truth-seeking palm, golden will reincarnation explosion. Boom!
Golden chakras surged like a pillar piercing the heavens, slamming into Tonari.
He vanished without a trace, unable to even scream. Sensing the disruption, Naruto arrived instantly. What happened? Hinata returned to normal. Just dealt with a nuisance.
They strolled off together, chatting about what just happened.
That was Tonari? Naruto finally realized. Well done, Hinata.
With him gone, we don't need to worry about the moon crashing down.
Guess it's time to revisit the moon landing plan. But that could wait.
Naruto brought Hinata to the Valley of the End.
Why there? Everyone knew the Valley of the End was the unofficial marriage registry for Leaf Shinobi.
Hashirama and Madara were the first to mark their vows there, complete with statues.
Okay, maybe that part was a joke.
But the view was perfect, and no one would interrupt them.
Atop Hashirama's statue, Hinata nestled into Naruto's arms. Naruto-kun, how did you know there'd be a meteor shower tonight? Naruto smiled mysteriously. You'll see. Should be starting, now. Far away, outside the range of Hinata's Byakugan and Tenseigan. Matatabi, Son Goku, Kokuo, and Gyuki sat around, sulking as they gathered giant boulders. A small white fox floated above them, barking orders like a foreman. Time's up. Are you guys ready or not? Gyuki grumbled, why are we even doing this? The fox smirked. Because you lost the bet. Sore losers don't get to complain. Let's just finish up and go home, Matatabi muttered. Here we go. Kokuo rolled a massive stone and headbutted it skyward. The fox waved its black staff, coating the rock in storm release and making it glow.
Then, just to be sure, it added repulsion force to keep it flying. One by one, the tailed beasts joined in, creating a brilliant meteor shower over the Valley of the End. So beautiful. Hinata whispered, eyes full of wonder. She quickly closed them and made a wish. After a moment, she opened her eyes and nudged Naruto. You haven't made your wish yet. Naruto already knew what was going on, but unable to resist her urging, he closed his eyes and made a random wish.
I wish my best bro could experience what it's like to travel through worlds too. The moment the words left his lips, Naruto froze. Wait a second. Years ago, the great Toad Sage had made two prophecies. The first, Minato will become an unprecedented Hokage. That had already come true. The second, Naruto will one day make a ridiculous wish and it will come true. Naruto looked up at the sky, a cold sweat running down his back. No way. Right? The end? Chapter 353, 354. Extra Story 06, Final. 1,420 words. Naruto had spent the most unforgettable 3 days of his life. Here, he had his father and mother. Here, he had older siblings. No one looked at him with strange eyes. Even the shopkeepers were extra friendly when he went out to buy something. In this world, Sasuke had never left the village. Sakura still liked Sasuke. Kakashi-sensei still loved reading Jiraiya's smutty novels. More than once, Naruto thought to himself, if only the world he came from could be like this. If only he had parents. If only he could stay here forever. No, Naruto shook his head hard. I still have to go back. There are things I must do. According to Minato's examination, there was residual space-time energy in Naruto's body. Once it dissipated, he would return to his original world. It should be soon, right? Naruto looked up at the Hokage rock, where there were only 4 faces carved. He felt reluctant to leave. At the very least, I should say goodbye. Naruto glanced longingly at the people bustling through the streets and slowly made his way home. Taking a deep breath, Naruto pushed open the door. I'm BA, huh? Happy birthday! *N. A banner unfurled above his head as countless strands of confetti rained down on him, covering his hair and face before he could react. In the center of the living room stood a giant birthday cake. Minato and Kushina were at the table, surrounded by Kimimaro, Haku, Karen, and the rest of the Konoha 11. Everyone was smiling warmly, even Akamaru. Sasuke looked as awkward as ever, but even he was here. Is all this? Naruto was dazed and overwhelmed. Because I wanted to make up for a missed birthday, Kushina said with a smile, pulling him toward the table. I told everyone, and they were all happy to come celebrate. Looking at the smiling faces and Sasuke's classic Sundara skull, Naruto's vision began to blur. To hide his emotions, he quickly closed his eyes and made a wish. I wish I could bring Sasuke back safely. I wish I could become Hokage. I could see Mom and Dad again. He took a deep breath and blew at the candles only for the flames to flicker but not go out. Naruto blinked in surprise and forced a laugh. Guess I was too greedy, huh? Too many wishes, even the candles won't go out. Naruto. Everyone was looking at him with concern. Only then did Naruto notice the faint white glow on his body. He was slowly becoming translucent. So, this is it, huh? Naruto lifted his head, forcing a goofy smile as always. Well then, it's time for me to go. Thank you, everyone, for taking care of me these past few days. Thank you all for celebrating my birthday. Thank you for letting me meet my parents. Minato placed a hand just above Naruto's head. Naruto, your name came from one of Jiraiya's novels. I gave you that name hoping you'd grow into a great ninja, someone who would never give up no matter how tough things got. Even though you hadn't met us before, your mom and I were always with you in spirit. So go on, Naruto, keep giving it your all. I will. I'll work even harder, 3 times harder. I'll become a great ninja that everyone acknowledges. And then, I'll become a Hokage who surpasses even my dad. As Naruto's body faded, a single tear fell. He left them with his final words. Goodbye, everyone. Just before Naruto vanished completely, a soft breeze blew out the candles. This is a desert? Naruto squinted, adjusting to the sudden shift in light and scenery. Right, this is Rorin. I'm back? A familiar voice called out beside him. finally back, huh, Naruto? We've been waiting for you, said Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei. What are you doing here? Naruto's eyes widened. Last he remembered, Yamato was leading the mission to Rorin with him, Sakura, and Sai. Kakashi put away his little orange book. We got word that you and Yamato went missing. The one who came back was Yamato and another Naruto. Sai's smile was as stiff as always. Anyway, it's a relief that you're back safe and sound. Yamato nodded. You gave us all quite a scare. You really went to another world? Sakura asked, eyes wide with curiosity. It was an amazing place. Naruto thought back to the past few days. It all felt like a dream. Kakashi said, let's talk on the way. We've already been delayed long enough. Lady Hokage is probably furious. Ugh. Just the thought of Tsunade blowing a gasket made everyone sweat nervously. Did you guys meet the other me? Naruto asked. What was he like? Kakashi scratched his chin. How should I put it, kind of a menace, honestly. A menace? Yeah. The first thing he did was call Sakura Sakubro, then he asked Yamato if he was here to reforest the desert. Told Sai to wipe that fake smile off his face, then threatened to deck him. Naruto glanced over at Sai. Did he hit you? Sakura waved it off. Kakashi-sensei stopped him. He said he'd let it go for Kakbro's sake and dropped it. Though I'm pretty sure, none of those nicknames was compliments. Naruto chuckled. He sounds kinda fun, actually. Makes me wanna meet him. He's way stronger than you right now. Rasengan, Sage Mode, even flying Raijin. He was basically. Kakashi trailed off, recalling the silhouette that looked just like Minato. Well, anyway, don't lose to yourself. Obviously not. Naruto grinned. Did he wait for me here too? Kakashi shook his head. Once he confirmed his situation, he left. Said he didn't have much time and had things to do. We couldn't stop him. Hopefully, he won't cause too much trouble. The next evening, they returned to Konoha. As soon as they entered the village, they saw a massive wreckage. Sai looked at the location. That's Root's headquarters, isn't it? Root? An enemy attack? Kakashi's mind raced. Don't tell me, he did this? They rushed over and questioned the gatekeepers. Izumo replied, yeah, it suddenly exploded yesterday. A huge noise shook the whole village. They found Danzo and a dozen Root members dead in the rubble. Still investigating the cause. Kotetsu added, the advisors are saying it was an attack, but no one saw anyone infiltrate. No trace of any intruder at all. Sai suddenly remembered something. He opened his mouth to show Yamato. The cursed tongue eradication seal is gone. Danzo really is dead. Kakashi pieced it together. A tailed beast bomb could have done it. And with his skill, sneaking into the village without a trace wasn't hard at all. Let's go report to the Hokage. Tsunade had been completely overwhelmed these past 2 days. First Naruto disappeared, then Root was obliterated. She wasn't exactly mourning Danzo, but something this big happening right under her nose made her uneasy. What if the next target was the Hokage Tower? After hearing Kakashi's full report, she finally relaxed. Another world's Naruto, huh? Well done. I wonder if he did anything else. Sakura's question left the room in deep thought. Tsunade could only order the ANBU to quietly investigate. In truth, the alternate Naruto hadn't had time to do much. He'd rushed back from the Wind Country just to blow up Root, dropped a future spoiler in Kakashi's home, and then tried to find Sasuke for a beatdown, but got forcibly recalled before even leaving the Land of Fire. By the time they left the Hokage's office, night had already fallen. Everyone went their separate ways. Naruto instinctively walked in a familiar direction before stopping himself. Wrong way. My house isn't over there. After a short silence, Naruto forced a smile and turned around.
When he reached his apartment, the lights were out, just like always.
No big deal. I'd been used to this for years, right? He plastered a grin on his face and gripped the doorknob. I'm home.
As expected, no response. He took off his shoes, turned on the lights, and reached for a cup of instant ramen.
Welcome home. Was that his imagination? Naruto blinked and shook his head, preparing to boil water. Naruto. Clang. The kettle clattered to the floor.
Ignoring it, Naruto dove into his mental space. Inside, standing before him, were two figures, one with blonde hair, the other with red.
Tears burst from his eyes uncontrollably. I'm back. Welcome home. End of story. Chapter 354, The End. 130 words. Hey! How's it been? The story has finally come to an end. I know it's been a long journey and at one point, I even dropped this fanfiction. But after rereading the entire thing, I felt inspired to pick it up again and finish what I started. I'm truly grateful to every single person who supported me from the beginning. This was the very first fanfiction I ever worked on. It all began just for fun, driven by my love for fanfics, and that love still burns strong. Along the way, I lost some people who were also part of this journey. It hurts, but sometimes, that's just how life is. Still, their memory and support will always be part of this story's legacy. Thank you for everything. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Sally Fox Audiobook.